You're listening to Filter Free America.
Well, filter-free America is where I wanna be. Driving on the shining black shores of oil-soaked Lady Liberty, with justice not just blind, but deaf, dumb, and unkind. Thank God I'm filter-free. Yeah. It's filter-free America.
Motherfucker!
Hello, Filter Free America listeners. Welcome back to another exciting and action-packed episode of the Filter Free America podcast. Disclaimer, there is absolutely no excitement or action in this episode, but what we do have is a very interesting conversation. So, what's this episode about? I will tell you. If you have ever wondered what kind of interactions are had between your favorite famous person or pro athlete and their limo driver, this is definitely the episode for you. The guest is my friend and comedian, Wayne Burfeind. And along with being a hell of a guy and a funny comedian, Wayne also used to be a limo driver. Wayne did this job back in the late 90s, and he has a huge collection of both interesting, funny, bizarre, and some disturbing stories related to his time as a professional limousine driver. And he's going to share them all right here with us, with you, with me, together in one group. Some of the stories include household names including Randy Moss and the Reverend Billy Graham, but also plenty of stories about just average old nobody rich people, and even people pretending and wanting to appear as if they were rich. Now, as a caution, though, I want you to know if you're a sports fan, especially a sports fan of people from right here in the Twin Cities, Vikings players and Twins players and what have you, some of these stories may not put your famous athlete in the best of light. Let me just put it out there now. There is a Kirby Puckett related story. So if you're under any delusion that Kirby Puckett was anything less than a human being, you may not want to listen to this whole episode. But I mean, we're going to hear other stuff too about other people. There's even a story about a pro Vikings player, former Vikings player, and the type of porn he and his wife enjoyed. What else is there? There's a really fun story about a truck driver. And you get to learn what truck drivers do on their off hours with their free time and money. Wayne will also answer some of the questions that you guys provided via social media. So if anybody else, if you want to get in on that, make sure you follow Filter Free America on Facebook, Filter Free America Podcast on Facebook. So whenever I do episodes like this one, sometimes I'll ask you guys to submit questions, and that can be included in the show as well too. So you get to hear that as well. And as always, we try to close every episode with the best possible stories to share, and that is no exception with this episode. The last two stories are about people that you're not going to know, but they're two people who were both very wealthy and both kind of weird, bizarre clients for him to drive around for two very different reasons. So make sure you stick around for that part too. Also, this episode is special for another reason, because not only is Wayne a very funny guy and a great conversation to listen to in this episode, Wayne is also going to be helping me on a future project related to the podcast. I don't want to give too much of it out right now because we're still kind of working through the minutia, the finer points of the structure, but we will be doing an additional Filter Free America podcast episode that's going to be different than the interviews episodes. I can tell you that much. Basically, the idea so far is Wayne and I looking at weird and strange stories that are in the news right now, talking about them, writing some jokes about them pre-hand, and also just kind of riffing and talking about the stories on the episode. It's going to be a much shorter episode, probably in the neighborhood of 35 to 45 minutes. So just a different kind of content from Filter Free America, but one that can still be funny, and one you can listen to if you want to listen to it. If you don't want to listen to it, you don't have to listen to it. But it's just to, get a little bit more of the Filter Free America flavor out there, besides just the interview episodes. But don't worry, absolutely not going to cut back on the interview episodes at all. this is just going to, number one, give me a different type of content to share with you guys, but also to give something in between those gaps of the interview episodes. Because, some of them take a little bit longer to edit than others. And I'd much rather get some other content out there to you than cut back on the quality as it were of the interview episodes. I don't want them to be any less good, and either for production value or quality of the interview. So this is just my way of trying to get some additional content out there that's still representative, of course, of the whole vibe, the whole feel, the whole energy of Filter Free America. And again, as you'll learn in this interview with Wayne, he's a very funny guy naturally, and he's just a really, really good human being, somebody who I've been very fortunate to know almost my whole time in stand-up comedy. So it was very fun to sit down and have this conversation with him, as it is going to be fun to work with him on doing this different type of episode. Real fast before we get going here, let me mention the sponsor of the Filter Free America podcast, and that is simplewebsite.us, simplewebsite.us. If you want help building a Squarespace website, these are the people that you turn to, right? We know that Squarespace is supposed to be designed for people to be able to do it on their own with no issues. And if you're one of those people, God bless you, you figured it out. Not one of those people. I needed help. So I turned to simplewebsite.us. They took my ideas, they put it all together. They asked me questions about things I didn't even think I needed to know about. And they assembled a website for me that is perfect to my specifications, and they maintain it to this day. If you want to check it out, it's filterfreeamerica.com, filterfreeamerica.com, filterfreeamerica.com. America always intentionally misspelled the letter K.com. Check it out. See the website that they have built for me, because I'm really, really happy with it. Again, simplewebsite.us. Lastly, please, if you're listening, you're probably already a subscriber. If you listen to one episode, you're definitely going to want to be a subscriber. So make sure you subscribe. Also, make sure you rate and review the podcast. Super, super important, super helpful. Little statistics on websites make people feel like they're making a sound decision when selecting a new podcast to listen to. So if I have many positive reviews and lots of little stars and what have you, then people are more apt to check it out. Also, please, if you got time, if you're connected to me on social media, if you're connected to the podcast on Facebook page, for instance, when I post a new episode and you enjoy the episode and you enjoy the content in general, take time to share that post. I've had a lot more people sharing content lately, and it's definitely been reflective in the amount of listenership that we get. So just so you know, if you've got a favorite podcaster, no matter who it is, share their content in your social media feeds, because that is really the most effective way to help your favorite podcast grow. So no matter who it is, make sure you're sharing their content. They will be very, very grateful for you doing that. All right, let's kick this episode off. And as always, we're going to give a name to this episode. And this one we're going to call Limo Driver Secrets Revealed with comedian Wayne Burfeind. You like that? I like that one. That was smooth. That just rolls off the tongue just right. So here we go. Limo Driver Secrets Revealed with comedian Wayne Burfeind, right here on Filter Free America. Let's go.
Gonna hop in the limo, cruise through the city, man. Let's make it happen.
Woo! And I got a limousine sitting out there a mile long. Limousine right. And I got a limousine sitting out there a mile long. Limousine right. And I got a limousine sitting out there a mile long. Limousine right. And I got a limousine sitting out there a mile long. Limousine right. Woo! We are in the Twin Cities, and baby, we're looking good. Woo!
All right. So start by kind of telling me, how did you get into limo driving, or how and why did you become a limo driver?
I started, so I knew a guy who I met at another driving job. I used to do courier work in downtown Minneapolis.
Right.
So I had this little small truck that would drive all over the place, and I would do legal stuff. I actually realized I drove the documents of that big Minnesota versus tobacco
Really?
case. I drove those documents
Okay.
to certain lawyers, but I'd have to have lawyers with me, and we'd be tailed, and I didn't know exactly
Really?
what was in there. But then after all, I was like, my catch, what is that?
Why is that so secure?
Well, because it was, how many boxes I was carrying at there? I don't know. It really seemed preposterous to me as well, but they were serious about it. But
like in bulk amount?
we're talking like paper box, where you would get like a couple dozen reams, like ream boxes, big ass boxes, and that would be maybe 30 to 40 of those.
This was the case of when they
Minnesota
banned smoking in.
When they actually won again. It was before it became illegal, but it was where they were talking about the tobacco knew there were issues causing health issues, and they were targeting children, like that big, like you know what you're doing.
Oh, this wasn't the lead up to where I thought you meant it was the lead up to where they were banning it from like bars and all that stuff, or was it?
This would be the lead up to that.
Okay,
but
this is like step one to that.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. This is half step. This is they're still working on it. So, so that's the kind of job I had, and the guy I trained in there, real good dude. We both were frustrated because you didn't get paid unless you worked. So, if there's nobody getting you could sit there for an hour and not get paid, or you could work.
Oh, you had to be there.
You had
Even though you weren't getting paid until you had something.
Yeah.
to
You were
deliver.
we were independent contractors the whole time. But I mean, there was days I'd make a lot of money, but then there was days I made like $30. So we just got frustrated. He broke his hand. They told me he had to work. He's like, "This is bullshit. I'm quitting." And then a couple weeks later, I quit because I had to pick up his slack now. And I was like, "Oh, this is a dumb shit job." So then I worked at a hotel right by my house. And then one day I'm going through the lobby and I'm like, "Hey, you guy who broke your hand, what's up?" And he's like, "Oh, what are you doing here?" I'm like, "Room service. It's a mile from my house. I love it." He's like, "You should work limo with my sister owns a company. You should come work for us." I was like, "What?" And he's like, "This is the money I made this week." And I was like, "Where do I sign up?" So called his sister, who was the nice boss. For the rest of this, the nice boss is this guy's sister. Talked to her. She's like, "You got a Dewey?" "No." "You legal license?" "Yeah." "How old are you?" "This old." "Okay, let's go." And this is like 90.
That's it?
This is like 96, 97.
Okay.
Of course, I filled out the legal shit, and so I was an employee for them, so I would get paid hourly. But yeah, basically, I just knew a guy whose sister owned a company, and
okay. Well, I want to ask you some more details about what's required and what's not required. But since you brought up the money part of it, that's one of my questions. I'm sure there's a base salary, or is it an hourly rate?
Yeah, it was hourly. Yeah. So it was a 2 hour minimum,
Right.
and we always rounded up, however it was. So if I just picked up somebody from the airport, drove them to their house, 45 minutes, that's 2 hours. That was $10 an hour, so I'd make $20, and then whatever tip was included.
Okay.
Usually 20%. Some people, just depending on what day they were having. But make $20 just to zip down, and it was by my house. I live 7.5 minutes from the airport on a good day.
Nice.
So I had that down pat on that. So I just sit home, play video games or whatever.
Did the vehicle that you drove, did you get to keep it at your house?
Most of the time I could. Okay. If it was a busy weekend or whatever, I'd have to drive up to Coon Rapids, sometimes Forest Lake, to drop off this vehicle. And the vehicle I drove most of the time was a prototype that Ford came out with, was a 6-passenger. Okay. So it was just 2 bench seats that were facing in the middle. So like one bench seat would be to my back and the other one would just face like that. And Ford presented it at an auto show, cut it in half, dumped it off at a salvage yard. My shitty boss found out about that, grabbed it, bondoed it back together really bad. Like it made weird noises, but some people thought it was the coolest thing they'd ever seen.
Was it on the Lincoln platform?
Yeah. It was the nice
so
nice
like the
Lincoln
executive town car kind of.
Yeah. That's I would drive that or a Lincoln town car.
Okay.
We had a silver and a black one. It was just before they rounded it, so it was that nice big, gorgeous car. But yeah, that 6-passenger was my specialty because I would also drive like when the weekdays in the morning I would drive children to school. I'd pick up like 8. Let me think. 6, 8, 7. I'd pick up 7 of them.
Are this spoiled rich kids, or is this just people who just needed?
These were we're talking Minnetrista, Egan, just that eastern.
So children too good to ride the bus.
Because they all wanted to go to a preparatory school. They all wore uniforms. And Inver Grove Heights, I think, was the city that it was in. I did so much driving around. I could drive there, but I couldn't.
That's how I am. Yeah, I drive 150 miles a day in my job, and I know how to get to everywhere, but I couldn't tell you.
Yeah. And it was just like first graders to seventh graders is what I drove, and there was only 2 that weren't brats. The rest were just.
That was going to be my question. What was the?
I mean, they weren't shitty kids. Like you wouldn't make a movie about how shitty these kids were. But
those don't exist. All kids.
But just they were from broken homes, and their parents were just throwing money at them to make them happy, and that's kind of the attitude a lot of these kids have. But I mean, they were good kids too. But
they weren't dick to you, like.
Oh, they would. If I cursed, I'd get a call a half hour after. Oh, I heard you swore. I'd say like, damn it, or shit. And one would rat me out. And then I asked the one that always ratted me out. I was like, why are you, that's not really swearing. She's like, yeah, my mom always yells at me for swearing, but she swears all the time. So I'm not going to tell on you anymore. And then that's when it stopped, that she would just like, I get cut off. What am I going to do?
Right. You got to say something. Throw a rich kid at him or something.
Yeah.
So tell me what's, the application process seemed like it was pretty simple for you.
Yeah.
Was there any required, and then I'm sure it varies state to state or wherever you're doing it, but what's the required licensing for limo driving specifically?
It's the same as any other vehicles. It's size and length type stuff. That's why I stuck to the smaller ones, because I didn't want to drive the 12 passenger. It just intimidated me. Okay. And that was their brand new one, and I didn't want to wreck it because I know I would have.
Right.
I think you had to have a special license for that one. But we didn't have, they weren't into like the cargo vans or the big vans yet like that. So the 12 passenger was the biggest, then there was a 6, and then they had like 2 town cars. So they were relatively a small company, very personal. We knew everybody, we knew their families.
And just so everybody knows who's listening, it was between 97 and 99.
Around that time. Yeah.
Okay. There was no special training at all? Did they
nope.
take you out?
Do you have a of course there was that. Here's how you got to fill out your paperwork. Because I'd have to write down the clients of the day, what times I did it. This is before swiping cards. I had to have the machine, the cranker.
Oh, yeah.
And if that motherfucker didn't work, then I had to write everything out. And I'm sitting, and this is a course before 9/11, so I could sit out in front of an airport and fill out paperwork, and they just knock on your window real quick, and you'd be like, I'm just filling out paperwork. And they go, all right, well, hurry up.
Right.
They wouldn't scream at you or anything back then. But yeah, just basically just how to do the paperwork and do you have a DUI? That's the only things they asked me.
Especially here in Minnesota.
Yeah. Well, the funny thing is that the brother who got me the job had 2.
Should be hilarious if they had a limo with whiskey plates. That'd be fucking.
God, that would just be always getting pulled over.
What were you saying? I cut you off.
It really wasn't that hard of a process at all. I just knew the guy who knew the owner, and she just showed me how to do the stuff, and
What about a background check? It seems like they would want, especially if you're dealing with high profile clients.
I know her brother vouched for me. She didn't have to.
That's all it took?
That's all, yeah.
Boy, that pre 9/11 time was fucking fantastic.
I'm telling you, brother. I'm telling you, man.
Holy shit.
Would go into the airport, wait for a customer. I'd eat in the airport waiting for him by the gate.
Right.
God, it was great.
Good old days. What about like rules? Did they give you sit you down look, you're going to be dealing with, Joe Schmo who plays for XYZ team, and you can't get autographs, and you can't, I don't know, anything like that? Or did they give you like a way to carry yourself around?
No,
well-to-do people.
It was just assumed. I think that you're in a professional atmosphere. Don't hound them. Don't. And the thing, and I think if I'm thinking correctly, I think she did ask me about sports and stuff like that, and I just have never been into autographs or that kind of stuff. Like, hey, this is your day job, but you're probably gonna, if you get hurt tomorrow, you're nobody. So just enjoy what you're doing. Just be a human is all I really cared about. Okay. So I wasn't into, getting shit from people, except for just, let's have a good conversation at the worst.
Okay. Now you mentioned you just drove the specific type of limo. It was just that one car size, but what were the other ones that were available at that time? Was it just the longer limos?
Yeah.
You said they didn't really have the trucks and stuff then?
Yeah, the trucks were, if you were going to do a truck, you'd rent like a Yukon or something along that side. I mean, this is still like a Bronco was considered a gargantuan truck back then. They weren't the excursions. The excursions were just coming out. So that wasn't a thing. There were party buses, but like I said, we just didn't deal with that because you needed a special license for that. But yeah, we just dealt with town cars, that 6-passenger, and then we had 1 12-passenger.
Okay. What was the you'd mentioned? Gotta get my mic jacked up way higher. Too much. There we go. What was your perception of the job? Like, when you would go to a job you've never done before, you've got kind of an idea of what to expect, versus when you get there and you're like, oh, this is not that. Was there any kind of disillusion, or was there any kind of?
No, she was great about just explaining it to me. She says, we do weddings now and again.
Okay.
Most of it is going to be just basically a car service. It wasn't a limo service, it was a car service. It's just basically a nice limo. They didn't have to worry about if the limo was going to, because back then, this is also when cabs would be missing hubcaps, and and this is also when they started tightening up a little bit, like getting that stuff in the shape, so you didn't have to worry about if your driver is going to be smoking a cigar while you're in there. So having a town car was quite the luxury.
Right.
So we would be picking up executives, like Upshur Smith used us a lot, and they're a pharmaceutical who kind of got in a little bit of trouble. They're just up the street from here.
Really?
I drove them.
They were
a
using
lot.
to transport.
No. Just people, just humans.
Oh, okay. I thought
Just
they were
people.
using to transport.
Pick them up at the airport, pick them up at home, drop them off at work. I didn't. I would do some grocery shopping for some people, but the whole majority thing was just people who thought they were important executives. And this is also when .com boom was happening, so there was a lot of just stupid money floating around too. But yeah, no, it was just like I was just a nice taxi ride for people was the main thing. But then there was weddings. With the 6-passenger, I would be the larger groups, take care of some wedding stuff. Now,
us both being comedians, we love wedding parties at comedy shows. That's just the best, right?
Bachelorette parties. Woo!
So how does that translate to being a limo driver? Are they as annoying as fuck in limos? Is it same kind of hurdles as performing for them? Where
going to the club, no. Coming back from the club, yes. Yeah. No, on the way to the club, they're sober. They were great. I said, hey, this is what's happening. Blah. We're going to have a good time. We're going to meet here and there and that. Just I try to get a timeline on when they want me to be, where and what. And this is pager day. This isn't cell phone day. If I use a cell phone, it would have cost me $2 to make the call. And then however many minutes I was on the phone would charge me more. So it's just like, I got a pager.
Right.
Just let me know when you're ready. And I'll get there within 5 minutes.
Did you guys use like the old pager code system where you didn't really call them back? They just called you and left the code. It's like, this is my group, and they're gonna.
Yeah, just send me ones. Or there was some nights I'd have to juggle, so I'd be like, you're 2, you're 3.
Okay,
that has happened. I just send me all ones. I'll know it's you. I'll come get you. Blah blah blah.
Gotcha.
'Cause they're gonna go to a concert, which is about 2.5 hours long, and I can go run some more people in between that.
Okay. Well, let's get into what everybody wants to hear is the famous people or the stars or the athletes that you got a chance to drive.
Yeah.
And I've got in front of me kind of the list that you provided me, and there's some definitely some big names around Minnesota sports.
Oh yeah.
But these are names that people will recognize all over. So I'm just going to start with how you got it. And you've got a long list of Vikings players and some couple interesting ones and a sad one as well too.
Yeah.
But I don't even know who the hell Jerry Ball is. I guess I'm not that Minnesotan yet.
Was he a defensive lineman?
Okay.
He was the guy. They were the guys that would wear the size too small shirt and then spray Teflon on themselves so they could squeeze right through. And there was like some conspiracy about it a little bit, but they're like, there's nothing in the rules about it.
Right.
He's not even. He's probably, if I think about it, maybe 6 foot, maybe. Okay. But a brick house. Super nice dude. The only real experiences I had, I'd do his grocery shopping for him when he hurt his back.
Really?
Yeah. I'd show up to his apartment. He'd give me 2 $100 bills. 100 was for my time for the hour. And then the other 100 was for grocery shopping. He'd give me a list of what he wanted. And then whatever the change.
That was definitely back in the 90s when you could buy groceries for $100.
Well, again,
I can't go without spending $200. Easy.
Yeah, but a defensive lineman too. I mean,
that's right.
He ate a bit. A lot of muscle on that man. Super nice guy. But also, so I would do his grocery shop. I'd keep the change, and it would usually be about $40. I'd only buy $60 worth of groceries. But the one thing I ever got out of this guy was I found out about Edie's lemonade ice bars. I still buy them to this day, and I would never have if it wasn't for him. But yeah, I'd do his grocery shopping. It cost him $200.
Did he make a list, or did you just bring me some stuff?
No, he'd give me a list. Here's what I want, and it was always 3 boxes of Edie's lemonade. And he goes, if it wasn't lemonade, orangeade. If they don't have orange, then lime. If not lime, then whatever.
Very specific.
Yeah, that's what he wanted. But so he was just a fun guy to just go like every third day.
Okay.
For about a month, I did his grocery shopping.
Did he have property here? Was he living in a house, or was he one guy living in an apartment, or sharing a place with another player?
There's a couple of apartments. I think the Vikings own them. I'm just guessing. So they have like that. So it's a condo. So they'll own like units, and then the Vikings, because there'd be some days I'd pick up several Vikings from the same area, but then there's others like Jake Reed was in a different area, and then Randy Moss lived in a different one. So but they just lived in apartments while they were here. So maybe they subleased or short leased, or with their money they probably just leased it for the year, whatever their contract was. But yeah, just go. And few had actual houses. Like I'm trying to think who I picked up out there. I was mostly
Carter lived here.
Carter lived here, but he would leave after the season.
Oh, okay.
So he had a house and a house. But no, they stayed at like a really nice townhome. Like I
got to imagine it's got to be like the players, like if you're a Randy Moss level player and you know you're in this long-term contract, you're not getting traded and you're not getting cut. Then you're going to invest some money and maybe buy a house, or at least lease or rent a house.
Or if you have kids too, like Denny Green, they had a house, which I seriously want. That's the only guy I ever really wanted to punch in the face.
Denny Green?
Yeah.
Really?
Dude, it was an icy day. Okay, so they had this really, really long driveway, and there was a couple of houses off of it, but it went up a hill and then it took a turn. Okay. So on the icy day, it's like, oh, I got speed. Oh, now I have to fucking turn, and I lose that momentum. So it took me a couple times to get up there, and I finally get there. I'm like, hey, and he's like, about time. And I was like, you were watching out the goddamn window. I'm on a rear-wheel drive fucking thing. He was just never nice. His wife was super sweet. His kids were adorable. He just never.
Was it the gruffy coach kind of not nice, or was it like, I'm an asshole?
Like kind of like a quiet asshole is what I mean, I can deal with being quiet. I get that. But he was being an asshole. And I drove him maybe a dozen times. Every time was just like, you can request me not to come if it's a personal thing. I don't know what's happening, because his wife was sweet. Kids were hilarious.
Was he much of a tipper at all? Was he?
No, it was all credit with him. They didn't pay me. They would just go through the Vikings or whatever, so it was just credit. I'm sure it was 20%. But
I was going to be my next question.
Punch in the face would have been the best, but
just stand over him and you are who I thought you were. Punch him in the face.
Hey, you made it to my playoffs.
Right? Way not to ever win a Super Bowl ever. Chris Carter's on your list.
Yeah.
He's an icon in sports.
Oh, God,
in Minnesota.
I mean, they retired his number.
And everything I see is all through his media work now. And back when he was a player, I kind of remember that, his personality type. What was he like as a human in real life?
Super sweet guy.
Okay.
So once I picked him up the first couple times, super quiet. But my boss told me, like, he's a joker. So if he gives you, don't be offended if he says anything. Like, and he's really quiet.
Okay.
So I told him one time, I picked him up after he did his Charles Schwab ad locally. And I was driving him back and I was like, Chris, like my friend, like my boss has told me that you're a joker. You like to have fun. And I feel like you're uncomfortable around me. I don't want anything from you. I just know you're a joker and I would love to joke around, but I don't want anything from you. And right after that, then he requested me all the time.
Nice.
To come pick him up. And one of my favorites was picking up him and his first wife, Melanie. I think her name was Melanie. Pick him up from a fundraiser. They get in the car and they're like, "Hey Wayne, how are you? Doing good. All right." And we pull away from the curb and he goes, $500 for some pigeon? Man, they should have gave me some chicken. Man, I was just like, these guys are human. I love them so much. And they both were just like, God, how many 4 carrots? $500 for 4 carrots and some pigeon? Man, I was like, yeah, these guys are human. I love them.
Was that kind of standoffishness at first, or that concern of like, everybody's trying to get into my pockets type attitude? Is that common around the people that you were driving?
I would say, yeah, people are trying to get in my pockets. You know what I mean? Because Chris, he's been spoon fed, but I think he opened up because he lost his job because of his antics, and then he found God and he became like a really decent dude. And they actually hired like a group of these musicians to come out to a church to sing, and those were the biggest a-holes I've met in a long time too. Religious singers, a-holes. But him and Jake Reed and somebody else on the team paid for all of them to come in and do a concert, so they were in town for a week.
Okay.
But yeah, no, I think it was just standoff. He just knows everybody just wants something from him, and that's why I said I don't want anything from you.
Right.
And then he just
it's a good approach. Just be cutting, be open about it.
Super funny dude. Yeah.
He's not on your list, but I've got kind of an anecdote that if maybe you ran into him before. But did you ever drive Greg Berman from ESPN?
No. You
ever met him? No. I have a friend, and I don't want to say because he still works for the Vikings in a way, so I don't want to say what he does. But he was in a situation where Greg Berman was there. If anybody doesn't know who Greg Berman is, famous ESPN sports guy. and he's a huge asshole apparently.
Oh, really?
Like a tremendous fucking asshole in real life to anybody who's below his stature.
Oh, yeah.
Type thing.
Gross.
And he also loves to swallow pills. He's a big pill head.
No, that's probably why he's so angry.
Yeah. So
he had a feeling, and so he swallowed some pills about it.
So I'll definitely never get him on the show now.
Yeah. But
that was worth telling. So my favorite person on the list has got to be Randy Moss.
Yeah. Rookie year.
So what was his
So
interaction with you like?
I dealt with him twice. First time, they used to do a sports show up at Champs in Maple Grove, and I picked up several people to go up there for that thing, and it was his rookie year. Everybody was losing their shit over this guy, and he was, just mellow, cool. He didn't seem nothing good, just a dude.
Right.
We go up there, and he's just like, when we leave, go around back to pick me up. Because there's a swarm, like he's trying to avoid the. They're at capacity, like
right.
they're kicking people out because there's too many people in there. So they do the show, and then this one guy just kind of walks out and he goes, "Yeah, he'll be coming out in like 2 minutes, so just get ready to go." And then people were like, "He's going around back," and it's like, "Oh God!" And then so he flies in.
Is it a combination of just sports wackos who just fucking love Vikings?
All
and then
sports.
How many people were throwing pussy at him?
It was all dudes that were coming after him when they wanted him to sign their cards.
Okay.
And just one dude just comes running up. He's like, Randy, can you sign my card? Like when he went to Marshall, I think it was. He's like, sign this card. And Randy just looks at the card and he goes, I never wore that number. And then we just drive off. And then that same dude followed us.
Whoa.
And Randy kept looking back. He's like, yeah, that's that same car. And I was like, I'm just going to go do a loop-de-loop real quick just to make sure. And he's like, nah, let's go to Jerry's house. And I'm like, Ball? He's like, you know where he lives? I'm like, yeah, I do his grocery shop. And he's like, no way. So we just stop. And then the dude comes up again. He's like, Randy, just sign this for me. And Randy was just like, no, I promise you, I've never wore that number. You got ripped off. I'm sorry. And then he just went into the apartment and buzzed Jerry. And I was just like, oh, poor guy.
Stalked you guys.
I know.
That's
but
crazy.
Also, then I found out, because Randy was like one of the first guys I drove up to that thing. Everybody I drove up there was supposed to give me a $20 tip from the radio show. Randy was the only one that didn't tip me.
Holy fuck, Randy.
And I don't know if it was because of everything going on or what, but...
Well, I don't know. It seems like I've heard him on a few different podcasts. He was on... he wasn't on. He was Darren Carter. You know him? Comedian Darren Carter. He told a story about meeting Randy Moss, and I think they went fishing together and stuff. He's a big country kind of fishing, hunting type
I
dude.
believe that.
He seems super friendly for everything. And then everything I've ever seen on TV, he always seems like a genuine person.
Yeah, no, he was chill about the whole thing. I mean, because I was just like, oh man, we're getting chased, and I'm thinking like, yeah, we're gonna lose them, and he's like, no, don't get in a car accident. Let's just go to a different place instead.
Right.
I'm like, all right,
cool. Gary Anderson. If if Randy Moss is the icon of icons of Viking football, the goat of goats, the
folk.
Is it hated? Is it hated,
or
how would you describe the relationship that people here in Minnesota have with former Minnesota Vikings kicker?
Every sports team. That relationship was every sports team. That poor guy. I was in the parking lots of the Metrodome when that kick happened.
And tell the audience who maybe not as versed in Vikings history.
97, 98
I think
season. Vikings and the Atlanta Falcons are in Minnesota Metrodome. This is one of the greatest years of Minnesota. The best kicker hasn't missed in 3 years. There, it was like a lob too. It was like an easy kick and whoop, shank that bitch right. And you could. It wasn't an you could hear an audible no. People were leaving because they're like, oh, Gary's going to go kick it. Let's go beat traffic.
We're
going to make this. And you just hear an audible, no.
So he's been the butt of jokes forever.
Yeah. But the thing is, I picked him up for that interview thing up at Champs. But
I was going to ask, did you interact with him before the kick or any after the kick?
No, before the kick.
Okay,
it was
but
before the kick.
None after?
No, after that kick, it was basically I didn't do much Viking stuff after that because it was the end of the season.
Right.
And then that's about the time where I left the business.
Because that would have been an amazing perspective to be the limo driver of Gary Anderson.
I was driving Chris Carter's agent that day.
Really?
That's why I was in the parking lot waiting for him. But about a month before that, I went to his house, townhome, with his family, and I showed up early. They were told a different time, and they're like, no, we're going to leave at this time. But he's there. He's from South Africa, so he's got a cool accent. His mother, same accent, a little bit more cool. His kids are playing NHL 96, 97, and I'm like, oh, this is my jam. And his son's all like, oh, you think you can take me? And his kid's like 9, 10, maybe. And I'm like, okay, whatever. I'll get schooled by a child and everything. And I'm winning 10-0 on this kid, so I just stopped playing and let his kid catch up. And then Gary actually patted me on the shoulder and was like, okay, let's go. It was more of a thanks for not making my kid cry. Can we go now?
Right.
And then he actually gave me $40 after
Nice.
the ride. So, I mean, it was a nice little, I got to hang out with the family, blah, blah, blah. So when that kick happened, I was just like, oh, he was so nice.
Right.
Aw.
But fuck him now.
Yeah. But again, I mean, but that's also the moment where I was like, you know what? Fuck this game. I don't even care anymore.
Right. You just have wives down here under the Minnesota Vikings thing, and you mentioned Denny Green's wife as being a sweetie.
Sweetie, yeah.
Is that across the board?
No.
I could imagine.
Not. The Vikings players I dealt with were all very cool, very, a lot of kids who have more money than they've ever had in their life. So there's that kind of thing, but they still weren't monsters.
Right.
A lot, they would every time it was a Vikings wife, I'd be like, oh, well, better bring a vacuum and some wet wipes because their kid's going to leave a goddamn mess.
Jeez.
Every goddamn time. And the worst one, Corey Stringer's wife.
Really?
Was, I mean, because usually they'll...
It is what it is.
Usually they'll at least go, sorry, we made a mess. They got out. The kid shit his pants 5 minutes into the ride, so the car stinks. And then I get out, and there's like a small fry smashed into the carpet. It was one of the... of all the messes I've had, that's one of the worst ones. I haven't had anybody throw up or anything like that, but that one I was just like... Didn't even tell me it was there.
Right.
So I'm just driving, and luckily... I just was like, oh, I should check real quick to see if they left anything, which is a thing I had to learn also. Just double check, make sure nobody leaves anything behind.
Right.
And then I'm just like, what the goddamn hell is this? And then she just was rude, just wasn't pleasant at all. I usually would get a high or anything. Just she expected me to get out and get the door or anything like that. I mean, I usually
that's
would.
so disappointing.
I usually would just jump out and get it, but just, man. Just her whole air was just like, she was so full of herself, which is sad because Corey Stringer was one of the nicest guys. He'd hum. He's always humming happy songs. Always, he'd be just like, how are you doing today? You doing good? That's great.
Because he's happy because he wasn't around his wife, probably.
I'm guessing. I don't know, but he was a sweetheart. So when he passed away, I was just like, oh no. Yeah, he just was. Yeah, it was just such a juxtaposition.
Right.
I was like, God, what a jerk. And then Corey was just like that because I picked up Corey first. I was like, oh, his wife's got to be nice. Nope.
Did you, just for comparison purposes, and this probably means absolutely nothing, but did you ever drive around the male spouse of somebody who was successful or famous or something like that? And was there any difference between famous spouses that are female versus famous spouses?
I'm trying to think the most famous female I drove. Now, we dealt with a lot of the men's sports stuff.
Right.
I have driven like the husbands of like executives from companies where you can tell that they're the small man or they are not happy in their relationship.
Right.
Just because how they are talking about things and just kind of like, hey, where's a place around here where a guy can get lucky? And I was like, I know your wife. You know that, right?
Right.
Like, I'm only a car service. I'm not that service. But I could just tell, just there's this mousy men just all like, I'm away from my wife. Yeah. Get that kind of stuff. But
did any of them have that same attitude though? Of like, I'm better
no,
than
no.
you, even though I'm just the guy who's cashing checks for my wife's making. And
yeah, there was more of that, but they weren't dicks about it. They were definitely the cat's away, the mouse is going to play type
they're
attitudes.
just happy to be there.
Yeah.
Type thing.
That kind of, I'm trying to think I don't think I've any really female sports figures.
Anything else as far as Vikings wives that were, besides Stringers, was there any other interesting interactions that were?
No, I mean, just again with Chris and his Melanie, they cracked me up pretty fierce about that. But I mean, otherwise, a lot of them, all the Vikings wives all had kind of an air of like, do you know who I am? Do you know who my husband is? A lot of them had that air.
I hate that.
Which is funny because it was the complete opposite with the twins' wives.
Oh.
Because I would go pick up the twins' wives from the airport, and then they drop them off home, and then they would immediately turn around and go pick up their husbands from the airport. So they would go get their car. I'd drop them off. They go get their cars, go back to the airport and pick up their husbands because they had to fly on separate flights.
Oh, okay.
Like that. And I have no bad story about twins at all. They were always just great, humble kids.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, Paul Molitor, I'm glad I didn't drive Paul Molitor in the wintertime because he lived on this driveway that was seriously like a 10 grade, and it was all windy, and it was just like, I'm so glad this is the summertime. But I mean, yeah, I ran into a couple of wives because I live over by Southdale. There's the Galleria, and my wife and I walk through, and I was just like, hey ladies, how are you? And then the husbands are standing there like, who the fuck is this guy? And they're like, oh, this is the guy who drives us. And they're like, oh, hi, how are you? I'm like, I'm good. So ladies, like they were almost offended that I didn't give a shit who they were.
That's awesome.
You know, I'm just like, oh, Radkey who, whatever. Hey, guys,
Who of the you said you didn't really get the chance to drive any of the players as far as on the twins?
It was rare that I would drive the players.
God,
I'm trying to think of all the names because a lot of them, I think, a lot of pitchers. But I did drive Paul Molitor. I drove him at his tail end. Yeah, they were all just so nice dudes. God, I'm trying to think of the guy who lived out in Medina area. It was a gated community, and it was right by this Chevron station. What's the one with the horse? The red horse? Sinclair?
I think so.
No, that's the dinosaur.
The Pegasus?
The Pegasus.
Yeah. I think it's
Chevron? No. What is that one? That's not Sinclair. But that one. That's how another reason I remember. I was like, that's a really cool gas station. He goes, take a right here. I'm like, you live by that cool gas station? And he's like, punch in this code. And I'm like, oh, this is your house? He's like, that's just a community.
okay.
I'm like, out here, there's a gated community. You live a fucking Medina.
Trying to keep out other rich people?
Yeah, right. What the hell? I mean, but otherwise, yeah, a lot of the twins did have homes locally.
Oh, here's a good question then. Of all the athletes that you drove and who had homes that they owned, who had the biggest, nicest home, in your opinion?
Kirby Puckett had one because it was in this area that you wouldn't even suspect because his driveway was built just right with enough trees and stuff to hide. So you're kind of like modest house, weird driveway, modest house. But then you go up that driveway and it's a big old circle, like 4 stories, swimming pool, super nice. And I loved it because it was just hidden.
Right.
'Cause I know I've been in that neighborhood before picking up other clients, and it was seriously like 2 blocks from a guy I picked up every other day. And I was just like, you live there? What the hell? And then I mean, Kirby and his wife were always super nice.
Okay.
Sweet. Pick up their kids every once in a while. Super well behaved. Yeah. I mean, yeah, that's the only reason why I like the twins is because every experience I ever had with them was always good.
Okay. Well, I want to ask you about, you had Kirby Puckett, if you don't know, is a fantastic athlete, or was a fantastic athlete.
Icon.
Another Minnesota icon. But he was, he enjoyed the ladies.
Yes.
And that was a regular thing with him. But you actually, one of your bosses.
Yeah, the bitchy boss.
The bitchy boss, the one you don't like, the one we're going to throw under the limo, if you will.
Well, it happened. It's none of this is hearsay.
Right.
It happened.
Was one of his mistresses?
Yeah. One of his mistresses, plural. And that's when that came out, she found out that he had more than just her, and that's what angered her. It wasn't that he wouldn't leave his wife for her or anything like that. It was that he had other women aside from her, which I thought was fucking hilarious.
Right.
It's like, because the guy that got me the job,
I want to be the main other bitch.
I know.
Be the second bitch.
There's only one side to the side bitch. Yeah, but the guy who got me the job,
right.
He kept telling me that I'd be like, Kirby's great. And he's like, He'd always make like just references. Nah, he's not as good as you think he is.
Really?
But this guy was a fucking drunk, so I just thought he was jealous or whatever like that. and then the good boss would make a comment like, if you see him with another woman, it's just a friend. I'm like, okay, like, all right. Because wasn't looking for trouble. It's just clients, it's your life, whatever. And then when the story came out that there were other mistresses, then the shitty boss went in some like, just didn't work for a couple of weeks because she was just so upset that he had other women.
That's mind blowing.
Yeah, and what the thing too is like, this is we would do the Kirby Puckett fundraiser, which was like the 9-ball classic or something like that, and they would get all this just amazing memorabilia stuff. If you were like any kind of sports, I mean, all these legends would show up to raise a shit ton of money, and it's like the only one of the 3 autograph things I have in my house is a baseball from Kirby. It says, "Thanks so much for the hard work, Wayne, Kirby Puckett." I was
Nice.
just like, nice. So I have
Personalized.
that
That's
put
fucking
in there.
dope.
Yeah. I was just like, okay, I'm going to keep this.
You can sell that to Wayne Gretzky and make a lot of money.
No shit. Oh my God. Gretzky, I'm coming for you. Coming for your retirement money.
Right. Was there ever? Did you have an interaction with him together with a mistress?
No, I never did.
Okay.
It was either, it was him alone. Well, the shitty boss would try to drive him as much as possible.
Of course.
So that would make sense why when I would pick him up, it would include his family, which, you know, all hindsight now, because I lived really close. Like, I mean, not really, like maybe 3 miles, 4 miles, which is pretty close. But, and she lived up in Forest Lake. So she would drive down from Forest Lake to pick him up and do whatever, blah, blah, blah. Now knowing like, oh, that makes sense. Booty calls. But, whenever I'd pick him up, it would just be like, just well-behaved kids. Wife was great. He was always super nice. I showed up late one time, like, it happens, you know, just, so why would I suspect anything?
Right.
They're being too nice.
Right.
But, you know, just, that was always a good interaction. Got to go to that 9-ball thing twice. They paid for everything. We got free meals, got to bring my wife, got to hang out.
No shit.
And again, if I were a sports head, I probably would have really lost my shit because I'd be all like, oh, fucking hell, you know.
Right.
But, you know, why would I suspect anything? Just...
You mentioned getting the ball autograph from Kirby. Was there any other memorabilia that was either offered to you or that you got from anybody, not even outside of athletes, anybody that...
Oh, I do not remember the name of this band, but they opened for Styx when they performed.
Oh, they've got to be a great band.
Yeah, they opened for Styx.
Was it Stones?
God, I wish it was even something like, I seriously, fucking hell. But anyway, drove up to Hinckley. The whole way up there. Oh no, this is a different guy. All right, so anyway, I drove these guys up to Hinckley for a concert, and they were just cool and mellow, not interesting at all. Pick them up the next day, driving back to the airport, and they were like, "Hey man, really appreciate you driving us safe. Here's a tip," and they hand me like 5 of their CDs, and I took so much energy just not to go. Nah, I'm good. I really just want to be like, who are you again?
Was it 5 different CDs or 5 copies?
It was 5 different CDs.
At least there's that.
Their music, and I just was like, oh, hey, look at that. And then
I something to throw out the window on the way home. This is good.
Pretty much what happened. Just like, I popped in one, I was like, yeah, no. They opened for Styx.
To any famous or rich people, don't ever tip in anything that they can't use as like a drug or they can't pay a bill with. Those are the only 2 things that people who take tips want. Either tip me in fucking weed or cash.
Do not give me your fucking anthology. I don't need it. God damn. But okay, so the other band I kind of mixed up in there.
Right.
Neil Sedaka.
Oh, okay.
Teen heartthrob back in the day. I drove his band up there in a cargo van, carrying some of their equipment and stuff. The whole way up there, they are like, when are we stopping at a liquor store? When are we stopping at a liquor store? Is that liquor store open? Can we stop off at this liquor store? Because they were going up to Malak, which was a dry casino.
Okay.
So they knew this. So the whole hour and a half, they're like, we're good. So we stopped off in like Elk River or Princeton on the way up there. As soon as we got the booze, then they were just totally different humans. They didn't drink anything, but they just had their blanket.
They knew they were covered.
Yeah, they were like, oh, right. Hey, man, remember that time we did that show with the... I was like, what the fuck happened? What the fucking... But they did not tip me their anthology, which I really appreciated.
That's good. That reminds me... did your limo that you drove on a regular basis, did it have a stocked bar in it? Did it have...
Oh, it did have a compartment for it.
Okay.
And just here, I want to make it clear about this vehicle that was bondoed back together. Right. Ron kills Cool in the gang.
Okay.
Ron and what's his brother's name?
I don't know. I knew the Kill's name, but I just didn't know where I heard it before.
Him and his brother. I picked them up from KMOJ stations. They get in there and they're just like, we gonna die in this thing? Like, this was not a great shaped vehicle.
Right.
The 6-passenger, but it did have little sections that had little drains in them, so I could put ice in there, put in beverages if I wanted to. It had the holders for glasses, but that was all on me. And there was like two people that made a comment about like, oh, you guys can do that. And so then I stocked it up.
Right.
Like there's one guy who lived out in New Richmond, Wisconsin. So that was a jaunt. And I'd be like, oh, what do you like? And he's like, oh, I like whiskey. So I got some scotches and just the little airplane bottles in there. And he was like, thank you. And then gave me $10. And then after a while, that same guy invited me into his house. He's like, my wife made strawberry shortcake. Come on up. And I was like, yeah. And then after a couple more times, I was like, this guy wants a fucking threesome. That's not going to happen.
That was my first thought. And that's lead to the next question. Was there ever any inappropriate behavior towards you from a female or male person that you were driving around?
Well, that's the after party bachelorette parties.
Okay.
There was twice where there'd be like, we're going to sit up front. I'm like, no, you can't. Well, there's no room back there. There was room on the way there, so there's room now. And this one lady was just like, I just can't handle these bitches. Da 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 da. I'm like, okay. So we're driving, and then all of a sudden she's just like, so what are you doing after you drop them off? I'm like, drop you all off? When I drop you all off, I am going to go home to my fiance. And that's where I'm going to go. You said, I mean, because it was not an attractive woman. It was not my, I was just say not my type. How about that? Right. I won't say unattractive. I'll just say not my type.
Gotcha.
As in married with 5 kids.
Good.
No, I was just like, nah, I'm good.
I'm good.
I mean, thank you, but no, thank you.
Any dudes?
Well, I did drive Neil Sedaka and his boyfriend to a show, and his boyfriend was very like, well, he's going to be busy. Are you going to hang out? It wasn't like, are you going to hang out while this is happening, blah, 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 if I leave anything behind. It was more like, are you going to hang out? And I was
It's like, can I blow you while we hang out? Kind of
like,
are you?
that's kind of what I got off of it. But then again, that's just my perspective.
Right.
He didn't say those words. But I was like, no, I got to drive back to the cities. I got another run after this. I was like, aw. I was like, ugh. Jesus Christ. I didn't think it put off that good of a vibe. Jesus Christ. And you got to understand, too, this is like, I put on 80 pounds doing this job because of the stress. I would work like 20-hour days.
Right.
Or be available 20 hours, I should say. Like, there's many days I should not have been behind the wheel. Like, if we had to do a log like truckers do, I'd been in a lot of fucking trouble.
Really?
Yeah, there were some days where I was just like, oh shit, I need to stop.
Right.
Like I would say it in my head, you need to stop. And then I would,
Get some sleep or whatever.
Out of it. And I didn't have any friends that were into Ritalin or Adderall, so that wasn't an option there. But that's when that started to happen, I was just like, no, I need to get at least 6 hours of sleep before I can do this. And like, no, you can just put some cold water in your face and you'll be fine. I'm like, yeah. And then towards the end too, I would just sleep through my alarm. My wife now would just be like, you need to go. I'm like, and I'm getting a call from my boss like, you need to go pick this guy up. He's wondering where you're at. I'm like, well, he's 20 minutes away, so we're going to miss his flight, I guess. Because again, this is before you had to be at the airport 2 hours early. Right. Where you could show up half an hour. Where you could do the Home Alone sprint through the airport.
Well, I didn't ask this. Was there any a dress code as far as being a driver? Did you have?
Yeah.
Okay. What would
they want us to wear black slacks, black jacket, and then a white undershirt. So basically, since I worked at the hotel, that was almost the exact same thing. I just had to buy a black jacket, so that's what I would wear. Okay. And then when I started gaining, I actually grew out of a jacket, and I didn't even notice it because that's one day a lady that I saw like for buying gas. I just got to know all the people, like the SA by the airport. Some of the nicest people, for what they have to go through. And she was just like, "Your jacket's all messed up. What's going on?" I was like, "What? Huh? What?" Like I just blew out the side. No one had told me. I don't know how long that hole had been there. I was just like, "Fuck!" So I had to buy.
Did you have one of the driver hats at least?
Oh God, no! I would have quit.
Limo driver, little cap.
No. But I did do my hair nice, and I would have quit if I had to wear a hat.
Who was the grossest person you've ever had to drive? Like either body odor or behavior or
all of
behavior
these.
in the vehicle, not like Kirby's like gross philandering on the side. But
a lot of these are going to be covered by Mary Lou.
Okay, well maybe we should save that one then. We'll save that one. We'll go back to that question when we talk about her. You said rich assholes errand running was one of the notes here. That definitely wasn't Jerry Ball.
No. But cool. There'd be other errand running things, and they would just like they're trying to impress their friends. So everything had to be beyond perfect. Okay. And it's just like you gave me a list. I bought what you asked me to, and they're like, yeah, but these flowers are the type that these aren't in full bloom. And I was like, well, they were the best batch they had where you told me to go. So you need to call them, not me. Right. And so it's just these kids who, again, like the .comers or these kids who hate their job, but they love the money. So they're just an asshole to everybody. I had a guy fall asleep on the floor, and then he got mad because there was a pothole.
Oh, he was asleep in the floor of the
Yeah, he
limo.
laid down on the floor because he knew if I'd have had to hit the brake or something, he wouldn't flying. So he just laid down on the floor, and I thought, okay, I'll be good. And then hit a pothole, and then he just sat back up and he just berated me. He's like, "Duh, fucking hell, I'm trying to fucking sleep here, and you're hitting every goddamn fucking pothole." I was like, all right, we've been driving for a half an hour, and that's one. So I think we got a pretty good ratio. And
Is that a literal reply that you gave him, or can you?
Yeah, I was like, what are you gonna do?
Right.
You want me to pull over the fucking car on the freeway? You're gonna get out, or I'm gonna let you know. I'm not gonna take this.
Right.
I'm
Good for
6'3". I'm almost 300 pounds at this point.
Right.
I'm gonna be okay. If you're gonna take a swing at me, it's your problem. But I'm just like, and I would tell my boss too. If some people, I would just be like, I'm never fucking driving that fucking psychopath ever again.
Right.
And then my boss would be like, I'm on a ride with somebody, so I have to talk to you about this later. Like, okay, find out it's that person I've been bitching about.
Oh,
just.
I'm glad you weren't one of those people that just like, oh, it's a star or a wealthy person, or just take that shit. Well, but at least a good question though is, what was the most aggressive interaction that you had with a client that you were driving? The biggest fight, argument? Anybody usually, did you like get him in the car like, no, I'm taking you back, I got to drop you off, get the fuck out of my car? Any of that shit?
It got close to that. Okay, so one big money maker for me especially was Christmas light tours.
Oh, yeah.
I had to, read the paper. This is before the internet.
Allow me to vent here for a second.
Oh, sure.
You probably didn't notice it when you came up, but there's a house kind of right when you turn off Rockford to come on my street.
Yeah.
It's on your right-hand side, and a big line of trees, and there's a big house kind of tucked away in the back there, and they've got like horses and shit like that. It's a very nice house, but they go fucking insane on Christmas decorations.
Yeah.
And then they become like part of these tours where these limo buses come.
Oh,
and they're both sides of the street all fucking November and December. And we had to come through there, and you see that steep hill coming up there. We got to negotiate these people going 3 miles an hour. I fucking hate that.
No.
I fucking hate it there's limos, limo buses, fucking cars.
You would have been cussing me out. Yeah.
Oh, it's fucking horrible.
You've been cussing me out.
Anyway, I'm sorry.
20 years ago. No. You're not wrong. You're not wrong. Because there would be neighborhoods that would do that. Mm-hmm. Like, you think that one house is awesome? We'll put 7.
Well, that's kind of what it is. The guys across the street, they're trying to keep up with this guy in the house. And now there's like a whole show. And they're like, tune in to 97.3 and hear these fucking stupid Christmas songs. I fucking hate it.
Yep.
But
it's exactly what I would do. And we would find out what the hot spots were.
Right.
And then they were like, how long do you want to go? 2 hours. All right, well, I'm going to drive you around for 2.5 to 3 hours because it's the holiday season. Ho, ho, ho.
Oh, so what are they doing in the back of your car?
Are
they literally just look? Because to me, the idea of it even is dumb. But
no, it actually is very sweet. There are a lot of times they're just
back there nogging it up
together. Yeah, they're nogging it up, but they're just getting together, just having a good time. They're like, hey, put on some Christmas music for us. Blah. It was always very wholesome, but.
Okay.
I had to juggle sometimes with clients. Pick up a guy who I know his kids' birthdays. I want to pick him up at the airport, and then I, drop him off in. God, I'm trying to think. So I drop him off like your neighborhood, somewhere just down the street, not too far, like where the nicest houses are. But then now I got to go out to fucking Andover and pick up this family.
Right.
But now it starts snowing, so I'm slow. I'm a half an hour late, and this fucking 75-year-old guy who doesn't even have a jacket on is just like, you're trying to ruin our goddamn Christmas. And his whole family is just sitting there. No, his whole family did what you just did. They're all just like, no, Dad, Grandpa, no, just stop. And he's like, you're our goddamn Christmas. And my boss, like, I called my boss. I'm like, because he called my boss. My boss got a hold of me. How
do you get to that point in your head that stuff comes out of your fucking mind?
Because people just aren't healthy. Like, he's trying to impress them. Like I said, they're trying to impress their friends. That's all it is.
Oh my God.
So my boss is just like, you know what? I'll pay you for the hours, Wayne, but just don't charge him anything. It's the holiday season. She was religious, with a bag of dildos. It was pretty funny. But she was just like, just don't charge him anything.
Well, if you put 2 dildos across each other, let me think.
Well, if you saw how big these dildos were, God. I'm going out to a weekend with my friends to stop by my house and let my dogs out. Like, right next to the door, there's a garbage bag full of double-headed. I'm just like, that kind of party. All right. Nice. All right. But anyway, so I tell this guy, he's losing his shit on me. And I'm just like, sir, look, we're not going to charge you anything. I just want to I just don't want to ruin your night. Let's just get in the car. Let's go have a good time. He's like, you think I'm getting in your fucking car? And his whole family just is like, oh, we'll get in the car. Start shuffling in. And he's like, you're going to embarrass me in front of my family. I'm like, they're in the car. Let's go. And he just goes, oh, okay. And then just like that, snap. Now he's just the sweetest guy. Hops in there. Had a good time. Took them to like my favorite spots. We were out for. They were supposed to have a 2 hour. I did 3.5 hours with them because they were having fun.
Right.
He had his flask. He had his thermos of good stuff. Get out of the car. Hands me $400. He's like, "Merry Christmas." And I was like, "You piece of shit." But he also made sure
was just being a dick. Maybe that was what he got
He
off
also
on.
made sure his whole family saw it though.
Oh, of course.
So he's just because he fanned it.
Right.
You know, bam, and he just goes, "Oh, and here you go, Merry
Did he
Christmas."
say it? Here are these $400 bills that I'm giving
That
you.
would have been the only way it would have been more douchey, but yeah, and I was just like,
Humans are fucking gross, man.
"Fuck you, dude."
That made me think of another question. What about medical emergencies with clients in the car? Like nothing like that ever happened?
Luckily, I did not have any medical emergencies. No, I never did. I mean, I've never had anybody throw up in there. I found some fun things in the limo after driving people off because this limo also had one of those mini TVs that had the VCR in it, but I could never get that thing to work because when I would wait around or something like that, like the antenna didn't really work. It was kind of a shitty TV. Oh, I'll put in a VHS. I've got some movies at home. It doesn't work that great. Cleaning out the limo, look over at that thing, and it's kind of ajar, the little flap, because there's a tape in it. And I'm like, oh, eject. Nothing. Eject. Oh, that's not even working. I can't even get it out. So I have to jimmy it out, and there's an orgy porn in there. And I was just like, and when I think back to it, I'm pretty sure it was the Stringers.
Really?
They had that tape. It was them. And
so you're driving around
friends.
there watching just porn in the back?
Trying to, because I know that TV sucked. Because when it played on the TV, for me, it was just what you would see with the wobbly lines. It wasn't good, but I was just like, orgy porn.
So what was the racial demographic of the orgy porn?
Plethora. Quite diverse. We'll say diverse.
Gotcha.
We'll say everybody was included.
Gosh. It was very awkward if it was just all gay porn. It would have been really.
Well, yeah, if you're gonna, whatever you're into, what floats your boat. I can't judge you. If you're gonna watch that with your wife, whatever
Whatever you like.
Yeah, but then another time I found a troy ounce of silver coin back there too.
Nice.
I have no idea whose it was.
Okay.
Because it was like I cleaned it.
Does that work finders keepers? Is that how it works? Or?
Yeah, I called my boss. I said, "Hey, did anybody call asking for a coin?" That's all I said, a coin.
Right.
And she was like, "Nope." I said, "Well, if someone does, I have a coin." I didn't tell her what it was. I still have it.
Right.
And I have no clue who it was.
Since '99, you've made quite a bit of money off that. Then
It's worth maybe $50.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
But yeah, back then
it was trading at $3-4 then.
Yeah, it wasn't. I looked it up. I was like, oh, that's not much. But I still have. But it was a cool little coin. I mean, it's a big. It's big for a coin. But I was just like, whoa, shit. God, what was the other? No weapons, no weird drugs. Oh, I did find a bud.
Okay.
But it just didn't. I was like, why does the car not smell?
Right.
That's what I thought was weird. So
Bad weed.
It ended up being some really old shit. Some guy dropped.
I know some of the listener questions I've got are about drugs and stuff in there. I want to save those for when we read those questions.
Yeah. I mean, I have heard some people with some real runny noses before going into the club, if that's what you're asking.
Right. Here's one I hope is going to be as interesting as the name. Reverend Billy Graham.
Dude, sweetheart. That's all
Really?
I can say. I picked him up from his private jet.
Of course.
He was with 5 other gentlemen who were in suits that are probably worth more than my car.
Right.
Billy comes out in overalls and a baseball cap. And I don't mean like in a rude way either. He just demanded to sit in the front because he gets less car sick.
Okay.
Gets in the front seat, turns to me and goes, "How are you doing today? I'm Reverend Billy Graham." And I was like, "Oh, fucking nice dude." Like, that's all I could think of. Just, what a sweetie. And then
He didn't try to grab your dick or anything?
No. Just super, he didn't really say
I'm saying that because I can't remember if he's one of the ones that so many of these would have been caught. These religious guys
I've ever heard about
caught
him
with
is
the gay
he was
prostitutes.
the one that believed all the good stuff.
Really?
Like
Okay.
He was, he was. If you read about him, you're kind of like, this was a good dude that was into religion. It's based like he owned like 3 suits total. He would wear a suit till it wore out. He didn't spend money frivolously, but just he wore goddamn overalls and just a baseball cap to travel because it's comfortable.
Did he try to pray for you or anything? Did he?
No. He didn't push anything on me. He was just a very, very, very pleasant human.
Okay.
I was just like, oh God. Well,
This is
they
the
were all
most
like
disappointing
this.
story that you've told.
I know it's the most disappointing thing, but just the fact he just turned me, just like, how are you doing today?
Any other
Billy Graham.
talking about religion? Was there any other, even if they weren't famous, any other people who were uber religious try to see if you were saved, try to convert you. Any other religious related
you
experiences?
Get the occasional, just like, well, like I said, when I drove that music group, that Chris and Jake and some of the other Vikings guys flew in, and they were all from all over the place, from Hawaii. One guy was from Spain. They were from all over the place. They came together. Only a couple weren't douchebags on that one, but I got the, have you found Jesus? Are you saved? But it wasn't like, well, you're going to burn in hell if you don't. It was
I got him in the trunk of the limo right now. What do you think about that?
Yeah. No, he's my next pickup.
Right.
Give his address, it would help me a lot.
Right.
No. I mean, it's just the occasional, just like a Sunday. Have you found Jesus? Like that's your fucking icebreaker.
Right.
I got way better shit to talk about. Hey, did you watch Simpsons last night? Way better episode than the Psalms, buddy. I'll tell you what.
Here's one I from your list that I don't even get the reference. It says trucker from Leisure.
LeSueur.
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm an idiot.
No, that's fine.
It's LeSueur.
Well, it's how I typed it out.
Gotcha.
So I made it one word. So, okay. So that, again, people get money and they want to treat themselves. So they get a limo.
Okay.
And then they...
So by trucker, you're talking about a literal truck driver?
I am talking about, this guy looked and smelled like a fucking truck driver when I picked him up down in LeSueur, Minnesota, which is about an hour and a half, maybe south. Picked this dude up wearing just a shitty t-shirt, dirty jeans, looked like he needed a shower. And he goes, we're going to the strip club. And I was like, local, this is going to be fun. Because I've been in small town strip clubs and they are a fucking blast. He goes, no, we're going to downtown Minneapolis. I'm like,
oh, shit.
I'm like, and in my head, I'm like, you're aware you're paying like $150 just to get to the club and then $150 to get back. Because I'm charging you $1 an hour, or $100 an hour. Plus, you want me to hang out with you now? And he's like, yeah, here's $600 and we're going to hang out. And he's like, I just got a big pay job. And so he got into the VIP. And let me make it clear too. My wife loved it when I would go to a strip club because I would call her to let her know I'd be home late, and I'd be like, I'm at a strip club. I'm gonna be late. I just don't care for the loud and blah blah blah. I mean,
I used to work at them. You get to the point if you go into them enough, you get to like, oh, this is fucking, it's horrible.
Yes, yeah.
This is
First
just
couple
a horrible
times,
experience.
fuck yeah.
Right.
Third, fifth, 50th time, God, fucking hell.
I always equate it to my very first paid job. I worked at a donut shop.
Okay.
And I'm fat. I love fucking donuts. And I've since regained my love for them. But after working there for 6 months, you're like, fuck donuts, man. They're just fucking gross.
Right, you walk by a donut shop and you're like, oh, God.
It's the same thing with strippers.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, God, whose pussy is fresh? Oh, God, nasty.
They're both glazed, though, sometimes, too. So.
God, you smell glitter? Fuck that shit. I made friends with some of the strippers.
Right.
We'd sit at the bar and hang out, check out, like, hey, how's it going to school? Da da da, and that kind of shit. And then, but this guy, okay, so we're at Sheik's, which is at the time one of the premier.
Was the premier?
Yeah, and it's a really cool. It's like an old library. Mm-hmm. It's a really cool building. Hey, we're going to the VIP lounge, which is
ironic because there's probably very little reading.
There's no
goes on in there.
Only Braille, and it's only 2 nipples.
Exactly.
So we hang out there, and then he gets these 2 strippers to hang out with him, and they're doing dances for him. He's throwing money at them, and these are, not to be rude, not the cutest strippers, and they're working at Sheik's. There's other strippers walking around.
Was this day shift or was this night shift?
No, this is night shift.
Oh,
this is night shift.
That's interesting.
And then he's talking to him. We're hanging out there, and I'm bored out of my fucking skull. They want to talk to me. I'm just like, no, he's paying you. Just talk to him. Right. I'm just hanging out.
No,
and
go ahead and pretend to like that guy.
Yeah, no, just no. Play with that guy's dick. I don't know. Pretend you want to play with that guy's dick.
Right.
I'm just here trying to see what books look interesting. And so he runs out of money, and they kick him out of the VIP because he's not spending enough money to stay into the lounge area.
Really?
And he's like, whoa, wait. Those girls said they were going to come back with cocaine. And the bouncer's like, they left a half hour ago. And he's like, no, I just talked to him. He's like, no, that was like 45 minutes ago. You needed to leave a half an hour ago, and they already left.
Did he give them money to get the cocaine? Is that what?
That's my understanding.
Holy
or with
fuck.
how much money he had been giving them just to hang out with him because of the money being spent. I guess it was implied or somehow that.
Was this his first day in a strip club? Did he not know what the fucking gimmick was?
By the looks of this dude, the first time in a nice strip club.
Holy shit.
I would say this guy may have been born in a strip club, but not a nice one. So I drive him back, and he's just quiet as shit now. Because the whole way up there, he's just like, "Oh yeah, man, the road's been good." Blah, blah, blah. You know, in not a boring fashion talker, but a chatty Cathy.
Right.
Way back, dead silent.
That's a buyer's remorse kicking in.
Buyer's remorse. Yes, exactly. Well, that's pretty much everybody that leaves a strip club has buyer's remorse, isn't it?
The fantasy's over.
So, and then I drop him off, and I'm like, "All right, man. Well, you have a good night." And he's like, "Hey, man, I can't tip you. You know, I spent a lot of money on us at the club." And I just was like, "Fuck you." And then I don't even think he got the door shut before I took off. I was like, whatever. But I got paid $10 an hour to hang out at a strip club.
Holy. Any, because he gave you 600.
Well, that was
any clue how much he spent in total the whole time?
He had 1,500.
Okay.
To start the night off with. So
that's his working security in club. That's kind of a modest amount, actually. I've seen way more.
$900 for how long we were there.
Okay, yeah.
So I was just like, the only money he gave me was the 600 just for the time and the trip, and he spent $900 as little as he may have spent more.
99 as a truck driver. That's probably at least a week's pay, at least if not 2 weeks' pay.
Well, he was talking about that he had a great haul. He had a really great week, really good haul. So I'm like, all right, well, that's why you want to spend your fucking money, dude.
Right, no shit.
I'm getting paid. And
anything else on these lists? Okay, now I'm going to jump to because I want to save those last two stories, yours that are the big stories that you have, and I want to refer to some of these questions that our fine listeners and friends in Facebook world had sent us. This first one is from, I know this guy, and this is an alias. Woody Boyd is his name. You know him too, actually. Oh, yeah. What are the things that you, in quotes, turn a blind eye to that aren't necessarily legal? And if those things were allowed, were they allowed because of personal decisions, like wanting a bigger gratuity, or were they kind of unwritten things for the company? When
I first started, I picked up these three dudes, well dressed, and they were like, "Hey, we're gonna go to this bar," which wasn't a good bar. We're in Uptown, so there's no great bars at this time. There's no fancy bars. I'm like, okay, they go in there, come back. Nah, there aren't any in there. Let's go to this other bar. I'm like, okay, they're paying me by the hour. I don't give a shit. Right. Okay, all right. She's gonna come with us. We gotta go to the pharmacy. I was like, huh? What? What do we go to the fucking pharmacy? And then the whole time she's sitting there, she's like, yeah, I'll suck you off, but you ain't fucking me. But you all gotta wear condoms and all. And I'm like, what? I'm like, did we just pick up a fucking prostitute? Did we pick up a hooker? What's happening? Did we pick a lady of the evening? What is that? Oh shit! Oh shit! So she goes in with two guys, and the one guy that hired me, he's all like, man, I'm gonna fuck that bitch all night. I can't come. I'm like, you guys can't tell me this is what's happening. If I know this is happening, if we get busted, we're gonna lose the car. I'm gonna go to jail.
No, that was gonna lead into my question. Now, you said that was, how does that work? If you're just out,
I'm an accessory. Really? Apparently, I know. I can say I don't know, but they're gonna go, yeah, sure, you didn't know.
Like if it says, you guy in the back says, hey, pull over right here, and it happens to be a lady standing on the street corner.
Oh, he found his sister. I don't know what the fuck. I don't care who she is. What the fuck do I care? I'm getting paid by the hour. But yeah, once I was just like, oh, this is a fucking hooker.
Right.
Oh, but she came back and she's like, I don't like any of those condoms. Take me back to the bar. This ain't happening. And I was
what
just
a fucking picky hooker.
That's what I thought. I'm like, well, she just doesn't want to.
You have a brand preference? Are you sponsored by Trojan?
By 3 dudes at one time, maybe. That's the thing, too. I don't know. But then I told my boss, and she was like, what did you do? I said, I told them to stop because we can get in a lot of trouble. She's like, you're goddamn right we can get some trouble.
Okay, I was going to say, I was like, no, you're supposed to.
Because I thought it was funny at first because I knew shit could happen, but when I told her, she really got into the serious mode about like, we could lose the car, we could lose our license, you'll go to jail. I was like, I'm not going to jail for somebody getting shitty dick.
As long as it doesn't interfere with your last 2 stories, because I don't want to spoil those at all. Was there ever a sex going on that you knew for sure was going on back there?
No. Because there was a partition that could go up. I couldn't see through. And as long as I didn't hear anybody screaming painful or ouch or nothing, I didn't hear. I seriously did. I didn't hear the orgy tape going inside. I mean, there was a couple of proms, some heavy kissing.
Okay.
but no actual sexing happening on. But like I said, there were some runny noses before going into a couple of bars. No smoking was ever allowed in there, so there was never any weed smells or anything like that. I mean, yeah, it was pretty. I mean, that hooker one is probably the only one I was like, oh fuck, I'm gonna get in trouble for this shit.
Right.
But otherwise, yeah, I mean, the coke dudes, hooker dudes.
What about the complete opposite? Has there ever like couples that were in there and they were just losing their shit with each other?
Oh God, yeah. They're angry rich people. They're just together because of money, and they hate each other, and their kids are still. Oh, I think I drove a couple couples to their therapy or some shit a couple of times just because. They're quiet the whole way, drop them off a place, come back an hour later, and they're screaming at each other the whole way back. Like, why would you tell her this when I'm da. Oh, okay.
So money doesn't fix everything.
No, God, no. Money, shit, no.
This next question is from our good friend and former guest of the podcast, comedian Daryl Horner. And I think you've kind of already answered this, but just a chance to recount, or maybe something you've remember after the fact. What is the worst thing you ever had to clean up, and what is the best thing ever left in one of the limos?
Yeah. Again, I guess I left this out with Corey Stringer's wife. Mm-hmm. Like that. Now that I think about it, there was a small fry, but she also left the dirty diaper in there. I mean, it was neatly put together, but I was just like, what the fuck is this bullshit? Like you had to walk to your house, and you're going to leave this in here? I think that's why I looked back. I was like, am I smelling that kit?
I would have mailed that. I would have took it. I would have mailed it to it. It's like, hey, you left this in the back of the car. No, you probably wanted it.
Just returning your property. Yeah.
Holy
and the nicest thing, I would say, that troy ounce of
silver,
an orgy tape. And
you sit there watch porn.
It was a pretty good orgy tape.
You just sit at home, watch the tape, and flip the coin in your hand.
All right, in her head or her tails.
This one is from, I'm not going to say this person's last name because I don't know if I don't know this person. First name Kim. Gentlemen, any special tips or forms of payment to include but not limited to just the tip? Which I think that's a dick reference, I'm assuming.
Oh, money. It's this lady who we are going to talk about. She would do grocery shopping and then buy too much of high-end stuff. So I have been given 12 pounds of like premium pecans. Okay. I have been given 10
just
pounds.
Regular transient pecans.
These dude, they were fantastic.
Right.
I mean, do you like pecans at all?
I do. And they're pricey. They're not cheap.
No, they're not. So she special ordered them. I mean, they were big. I mean, they were like small golf balls. They were good sized pecans. But she would just feed to the squirrels up at her cabin. What? But anyway, she had too many, and she decided to give me 12 pounds. I was like, what the fuck am I going to do with these? Like
12 pounds? That's pricey.
Yeah, that's a lot of fucking pecans. And then she gave me some shrimp that her cat didn't like.
Secondhand cat food is what you just...
Look, I won't get too deep into this woman.
Okay,
we'll get to her, but yeah, I mean, food stuff.
Was there anybody that was like negotiating with you? Like, hey, I don't have enough money for another hour, but I'll give you a bump of Coke, or I'll give you, whatever. You can come back to my restaurant and get a free meal. Anything like that?
No, I never.
Price negotiators?
No, I never ever got offered drugs. Okay. Ever.
That to me is half the adventure of doing that job. Would be the drug
kind of, sort of insinuated a threesome. If that count as a tip?
Yeah.
Couldn't cash that one.
Right.
So, yeah, no, I mean, I know, I just didn't have to deal. I mean, I wish those Upshur Smith guys would have been all like, needs Moxie? How about that, buddy? That better take care of you. Tickets, Vikings tickets, Timberwolves tickets, Twins tickets.
You did get those?
I did get those, yeah.
Were they good seats, or were they like nosebleeds?
Yeah, Vikings tickets, you sit with the wives. Because it's just the family stuff, and it's in the end zone, so you can see the whole. It's not to the side; it's on the end zone. Twins tickets are back, just up above the bullpen where we sat, and then Timberwolves tickets were like 3 seats off of the court, so 3 rows off the court. So everything was decent and free.
That was something I was going to ask you about, because I didn't notice any Timberwolves players on your list of people you did.
I drove Sam Mitchell once.
Oh, okay.
Super tall dude. No, nothing exciting. I just drove him to an interview, drove him home. That was it.
No
the
KG
guy I did drive was their TV announcer. I can't remember his name for the life of me, but I drove him like every other week, him and his wife. Super nice guy. That's the guy that would give me the Timberwolves tickets. And then it just got into, I wasn't into basketball.
Right.
I would go, And then I would hang out enough to just go, hey, thanks so much. And my wife would, thanks you so much.
Based on their last few seasons, it'd be pretty fucking insulting to get.
Yeah, well, this is, they've never had
They had one good season with KG, I think.
He got the MVP for that one too, didn't he? But I never met, Sam Mitchell was the only one player I ever met, but it was just that announcer dude. I think
Did you tell me how Sam was? Was he?
It was nothing, just a tall guy.
Okay.
Nothing out of the ordinary. Just drove him to an interview, drove him home. He lived in a modest house. Just nothing out of the ordinary. Good.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
This one may kind of tail into the story you just told about the hookers, but Jerry asks, what part or what town / scenario that a client has been taken to for drug deals and or illicit behavior?
That's the last guy we'll talk about.
Okay.
So you can ask that question. We can just lead right into.
All right. So hold on, Jeremy. That's coming up in one of his last two stories. Eric, well, this isn't really a question, but it's kind of, I think we kind of answered that already, but I'll just re-ask it again to get his question in there. He's like, he's been there, done that. So apparently he's done that job before. He said the money is good, but he said zero respect. And I think you've already disproved that. I think you've had some people who were, even famous people who were good to you, right? I mean, that's...
It's just, they're humans. They're all different. Just some people get stupid about the stupidest shit, and some people just good people out there. It's surprising who does tip, who doesn't tip sometimes.
Right.
They're just like, oh, I owe you $50 for the half hour. Here you go.
Do you remember what your highest dollar tip was?
That we'll get into that last lady.
Well, his last story is going to... Joe asks, has he been given the, in quotes, keep this to yourself money, as in you possibly saw something and somebody's trying to buy you just be quiet?
No, if anything, it may have been off of my boss and her indiscretions with certain clients, because she also wasn't just banging Kirby.
Really?
There were some other clients, and one client even told me, this guy who was clean cut, he looked like a Mormon.
Tell me about her for a second,
All
okay?
right,
tell me about her physical appearance, because we shouldn't judge people by their physical appearance, but we're dudes. So tell me, was she an attractive lady? Was she fit? What was she?
Girl next door.
Okay.
She looked 10 years older than she actually was.
And everybody remember, this is one of Kirby's conquests.
Yeah, this is Kirby's conquest. You would not have suspected her, I guarantee you. If there was a lineup and you were like, who's he banging? You'd have been like, well, not that one. But she came into some money. She bought the majority of the company off of a guy who worked for her because he got in a car accident and killed a couple people because he fell asleep behind the wheel. So she took on the company and she made good money doing that. If meth were a thing back then, I guarantee you she would have really been on it. But she's always angry about everything. She would want me to drive. Like, I live in North Bloomington, and she would want me to drive up to Forest Lake to pick up the car, do a job, drive that car back to her house, drive my car down to the other bosses, and then continue the rest of the day. And I was like, you want me to drive for 3 fucking hours to do a job?
And covering expenses or fuel or anything for you and your personal vehicle?
Nope.
Oh, fuck her.
Nope. And so she was like, what do you mean? That's just a job. I'm like, no, I'm not doing that. And
Right.
she would just do preposterous shit like that. She may have been bipolar. I don't know. She definitely wasn't mentally stable. But she would just do shit like that all the time. I think test me, but I would just tell her, fuck you. No,
Right.
I'm not gonna.
Do you happen to know of any of the other prominent names of people she was banging besides Kirby?
They weren't. I wouldn't say prominent.
Okay.
They were just client. You wouldn't know who they wouldn't know
Okay.
them for Adam.
Just
But
random dicks going
Oh,
on.
but that one guy, that Mormon guy, was talking about, like, he just mentioned it one time. He's like talking about Annie and how she just brought up like sex, and she's like, "Oh, I'm ready to go. I'm ready to go right now." And he was like, "Ah, that was a weird thing to say." And I was just like, "What?" And that's when my brain just went like, "Now it all makes sense."
Right.
Like at the end of the movie, the reveal, I'm just like, "Now it all makes sense." Oh my god, that's whore. But yeah, she's a goddamn monster.
Jeez. This is obviously an alias. I don't know how these people get away with having these names on their Facebook profiles, but whatever. He's a good guy. His name is Kinky Tails.
Oh yeah,
that's his name.
I like him.
Maybe that's his given name. I don't
Is
know.
he a brony? That makes sense.
No.
Sounds like a pony. Okay.
Maybe, I don't know. I don't know him that well. No, I don't want to pick on him if he is a brony, but if he is one,
Good dude. Good dude.
anyway. his question is a little confusing. It says more hookers than girlfriends. I'm assuming that were you used to shuttle more wives around, or were people using you to shuttle their mistresses around, or would you even have known that really if it was?
No, I really wouldn't. I mean, yeah. I mean, just those 3 dudes and that one hooker is the only one I know for a fact.
Because I know a little something about hookers, and I'm assuming they're not. If they're selling themselves to somebody, they call up and say, "Hey, I want to order you," and then they come to him or her. Yeah. They're going to provide their own transportation, and they're probably not going to splurge on a limo when they could just take a cab.
Or it depends. Maybe a high-end hooker. I don't know. I've heard stories where it's like, "Oh, you want me to come over? Send me a car.
Right.
You're going to pay. You're going to pay all that shit."
Right.
But yeah. I think I can only really tell you one time hookers more than, and then mistresses. I don't know. I mean, I didn't get to meet everybody's whole families. There could have been.
Right. Adam asks, as a cabbie on the graveyard shift, I'm always asked what's the weirdest thing to happen. Mine is hearing the sloshing of 2 extremely large, I'm going to edit how he worded this a little bit, 2 extremely large lesbians dildoing each other.
Diddling.
Oh, yeah, diddling would be better. Yeah, that's right. See, that's me putting my own thoughts into this right here. That's what I would have.
Makes sense. Both makes sense.
Sounded like a paraplegic doing dishes. I love our listening group. So
was guy missing his legs makes noise doing dishes? I don't get it. I don't understand. I don't know what's happening.
Some of these people are drunk. What was the weirdest thing? Would you count the weirdest if, or maybe it falls into the last 2 stories?
Just people basically coming back from divorce therapy and all that shit. Yeah, I mean, from all the stories that you can hear about, I mean, it's pretty tame from what has happened. I think because it was a high-end service, I think a lot of people behaved themselves a little bit more. It would be my guess on that. But I mean, just the shitty things is just people make a mess, don't clean up after themselves, or don't tip after leaving a fucking mess, driving, like just... They paid for 2 hours, but what they had to do only took 1 hour and 45 minutes. So now they're just like, oh, let's go to White Castle now in a limo. And it's like, yeah, I can do that. Let's fucking do it. But the other thing about this prototype vehicle, the back windows didn't roll down. So that was the other downside. Right. Like I said, Cool in the Gang asked if they were driving that coffin. AC worked once in a while. Just sometimes you get that person who thinks they're in charge the whole thing. And like, I set up the whole back. Like, I knew how the switches had to go. They weren't labeled right, again, prototype. So it's like, okay, AC's going. It's nice and cool. Fucking asshole gets in the back. First thing he does, click. I just hear it. Click, 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 click. Turns the heat on high some fucking how. And now everybody's screaming at me. And I'm like, it's these switches. Well, why did you do that? I'm like, I fucking heard you switch them.
Right.
Click, click, click. Don't touch those. Also, I'm going to have to drive around the block, get all that hot air out. So I'll be right back. Or prototype, I'm sitting in front of the church. Wedding is ending.
Mm-hmm.
Radiator hose blows. Oh. Because I'm standing there, I'm just like, that's sloshy sound. That
was the same as the Christmas guy. You ruined our wedding.
No, the mother.
Oh, I believe it.
You are going to get a vehicle here right now, and I am serious. Okay, right. You got a phone for me? Because we don't have cell phones. I don't know what
like, lady, half of the weddings end in divorce anyway. Yeah. So I mean,
yeah. Well, what we did for them, we gave them like several hours for free, and I drove them around the lakes and stuff like that. And they were super cool about they were just like, yeah, it happens. Blah, blah, blah. She's always angry about everything. Blah, 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 blah. So they were cool about it. But yeah, I just I actually felt that was probably the one time I was just like, oh fuck everything.
Yeah.
Because I really felt bad. But they were cool as shit about it. It was just the mother was like, it was her wedding apparently, and just I can't yell at her. She's wearing a dress.
Was that the only time that a vehicle breakdown happened as a limo driver?
No, the town cars, you always had to leave them on. Because there's times I'd turn it off, go into the store, come back out, motherfucker won't turn over.
Really?
It's the weirdest shit would happen.
Were these cars just, by the time you were driving them, were they just beat to death 200,000 miles?
No, they were in great shape. They were maintained. Like, I'd take them into the shop. If I took them into the shop, I'd get paid by the hour just to wait for them.
Nice.
The bosses would friends, family, brothers would fix shit for cheap for them. They were taken care of. It's just shit happens. Some of the worst ones, we would drive people down to the Mayo Clinic. And then there was one winter, the heat decided it wasn't going to work in the car.
Wow.
So I drove from the airport to Rochester and back with no heat.
In a freezing limo.
It was fucking, yeah. I mean, I'm glad it wasn't -0, but these people were from, I believe, Middle East, warmer climate, so they were already freezing.
Right.
And I'm just like, oh, fuck everything. God damn it.
2 more here of the listener questions here. I think you kind of already answered this one too. I don't even know if this is a question. It says, does sex in a limo earn a lot of extra tips? You didn't really have that, though.
I didn't have to worry about that. No. I mean,
Anybody-
if they left a mess, I would assume. But if it's nice and clean, I don't give a shit.
Did anybody try to like ask you ahead of time to do anything inappropriate in the back? Like, hey, I want to fuck the shit out of my wife. Is that cool? Is there anything something like that?
Again, it was a higher end set. I think people just didn't. I mean, I've been asked by other clients too, like, hey, is someone fucked on this? Because there's a weird stain back here.
Right.
Like, I don't have the car all the time, so maybe.
I think geography might have a lot to do with it too. Like if you're in certain, like in Vegas, you'd probably get a lot more weird stories.
Yeah.
In LA, here, I mean, like, can we have a meat raffle in the back of here? You know, some real Minnesota type shit.
Can you call bingo numbers while you drive around? That'd be great. Thank you.
Sorry for all the pool tabs on the back of the seats there.
Pool tabs. Pool tabs. Yeah, that may have happened.
Can I get my cheese hat out of the trunk? Last one here, and again, this is maybe a kind of crossover and some other stuff. What's the grossest thing you've ever seen a celebrity do, and are they really lizard people? God damn it! God,
Well, first part, God, yeah, they are. Oh my God. If you smelt the shits their kids had, oh my God, they're lizard people.
Right.
But yeah, no, gross white. No, they're celebrities. Nobody got out of hand. I mean, some of the younger Viking kids leaving an event would, catcall ladies, and then again, the back window didn't roll down, so that takes away a lot of the
right
player factor on that. But
did your unit have the sunroof? And
it had a moonroof.
The moonroof.
Yeah, you couldn't stick on. That's you. If that happens, you're supposed to slam on your brakes and pull off the side of the road. They're not allowed to do that.
Okay.
But we had a moonroof in there. But yeah. No. He's like, hey, slow down, man. Hey, unlock the door. hey, unlock the window. Like, it doesn't roll down. Opens up the back. Hey, ladies, what are you doing? Like that. All player is just left. All game is just falling out of that back door.
That was a question I was trying to remember. Did you ever deal with anybody who tried to use you as a prop to like, oh, this is my driver, that kind of, try to play it up a little bit and brought you into the kind of the fantasy, so to speak?
I think the closest thing to that, it wasn't like a personal drive, but this one guy was being very, very nitpicky about everything. Like he was like, make sure the car's washed, like get the wheels shiny. Jeez. Did all that, got it vacuumed out, everything. And I was just like, oh, it's going to be like he's going on a date or something fun like that shit. He gets in there and he's just picking lint off of the carpet. And I'm just like, what is happening? Like, you're getting too nitpicky now. What the fuck is happening? Pick up this girl who is out of his league. And I'm just like, if we hadn't picked her up at an apartment complex, I'd be like, this woman's a fucking hooker.
Right.
And then we go to this house in Hopkins, and on the window it says, "Will you marry me?" And she just looks at him and goes, "We talked about this." And I was just like, "Oh God!" And then the family is in the window too. Like, you can see there's it was so like, here's a limo for you, here's a house for you, your family's here, and she just, we talked about this. It's like.
Oh, that's crushing.
And then she took that ice cold pick and stabbed him in the heart.
So what was the interaction after that point?
It was, get out, we gotta go. I was just supposed to drop you guys off. I'm not gonna be a part of this. I gotta go. Like, so I just left. I was just like, bye. Not a problem.
That's fucking brutal.
You. Yeah, it really just what a prick he was being the whole time too. I'm just like, oh God. And apparently I was like that.
Well, she would have said yes, so there wasn't so much fucking lint in the back of that limo.
No, it's my fault. I'm a fucking monster. Oh, Joey, no, you just ruined my life. Oh, I'm a no, it was nice.
Holy shit, that's on him though, because if they
talked about it,
yes, clearly,
and apparently From what he was talking,
A fucking rented limo isn't going to change that shit.
Because it was kind of because he
They're
was
not
a
that
prick.
magical.
No, they're not, and especially this bondoed put together thing. I mean, you could see where it was bondoed back together. Just
Christ.
I mean, it wasn't. You could walk up to it and be like, "This is really thick paint." Oh, because there's kind of a bondo thing going on here. But but after she said we talked about this, I was like, oh, he was rambling about something about having had proposed to her before. Now that she says this, because he was a prick, so I kind of. Blah, 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 yeah, okay, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And then I was like, oh, shit, this is not the first time he's proposed to her. And he just thought a house in a limo was going to do it. And I was just like, oh, fuck you, dude.
Holy shit. Well, he tried to do it before in his Jeep Wrangler, and that didn't work. So he's like, let me get a limo. Yeah. That's going to fix all this shit.
There's so much lint in that first limo, and now this next one, god damn it all to hell.
All right, we got 2 stories left. To close the episode on, and these are the gold and silver standard of your limo stories.
2 of my favorite. These are the ones my wife brings up all the time.
Okay, so would you say the Chicago Tribune lady is the second best?
No, yeah, she's the second best.
So we'll start with her
because she is. When you talk about disgusting, smelly, appearance-wise, personality, she was all of those.
Okay. These are the note that he had sent me on this one. Mary Lou, heiress to Chicago Tribune, best tipper, fattest cats.
Yes.
So I have no idea what all that means
took
together.
her cats to the vet. I did everything for this lady.
Okay.
Everything. I mean, I hung out with her sometimes, and she would always make certain I knew sex was not going to happen.
Okay.
This lady, like I'm in my mid-20s. She was in her mid-60s, and she looked like she was in her mid-80s. Always had a cigarette in there. It had no teeth. She had kind of a speech impediment too, like where they kind of the lip kind of bounces a little bit, kind of talk like that. But then she had puffy cheeks too, so that jiggled too while she talked. So her head looked like a fucking.
How did she say your name?
Oh, that's Wayne. It's one syllable. It's easy.
What name?
No, just Wayne. Wayne.
Yeah.
But it would never stop, and she never stopped talking. Just always. Wait, we're going to go get some groceries right now. We're going to go up to the cabin. Don't forget to pick up my cats, but don't get them all excited like you do all the time. But she always had that cough too, because
we're not making fun of the defect. We're making fun of the situation.
She was an asshole, but she was the only client allowed to smoke in the cars, and she smoked the cheapest, smelliest. It smelled like she lived.
And is it just because she's so wealthy that they just like, well, fuck it, we gotta.
Yeah, well, she used us all the time, and again,
that's how the world works, man. You've got the most money, you can smoke anywhere you want to.
Yeah, well, she'd been using us before I started working there, and the boss said it was okay, so it's okay with me. I did grocery shopping for her because she lived like 2 blocks from me.
Really?
Which is the weird part. So go to her house, hang out with her, play with her 28-pound cat.
Jesus.
Was the small one.
All right.
And it was agile. It would jump up on the counter next to me and be like, hey, what's up, buddy? And she bought special shrimp for this cat because it would flip over its dish if it didn't like what it had for food.
Like I do the same thing.
Yeah, right? And Nikki just wants to put you down.
All the time.
All the time. I would go on scavenger hunts for a certain type of food at all the PetSmarts because they stopped making a certain flavor. The cat food company was still going. They just were getting rid of this certain flavor, which was the only one her cat liked. So I would travel 4 hours around town going to PetSmarts, trying to find this goddamn food.
Trying to buy up the last remaining stock of this food.
Yeah,
Holy
it was
shit.
exactly that. And then I would do grocery shopping for her. This is all local stuff. And I would do all that stuff. And she'd like, all right, well, you give this to your boss and here's yours. And so the boss would get whatever the rate was. And here's $400 for your time.
Really?
Yeah.
That's crazy good money.
Dude. And that's the only reason I put up with her.
Right.
And then she had a cabin up in Turtle Lake.
Okay.
And like I was saying, she would special order these premium pecans to give the fucking squirrels. She would have me go buy pumpkins to give to the deer. Put them out there, throw them out in the field, smash them up. Oh, you drove me out to Turtle Lake and back. Here's $600.
Holy shit. So, do you have any idea because she says heiress of the Chicago Tribune. Do we have any scale of what her wealth was?
From my understanding, she got like $50,000 a month.
Jesus.
And where she lived was not. I mean, it's a nicer one in the area.
Right.
It has security, but she would blow through it because she would give to people. She would overtip. She'd go gambling. She'd, buy got $60 fucking worth of shrimp for cats for a week. And she would blow, and there was a couple times where I'd drive her and she'd be like, I didn't get my check. I don't have cash. And I'd be like, I'm fine.
Right.
I mean, how much money I made off of you this month? I'm good.
No kidding.
So
you said she was also the nastiest and grossest too, right?
Never stopped smoking. Always smoking.
So it was like a body odor, stinky vag,
and then
armpits type thing.
Never wore a bra. Wore the blouse. No, didn't wear like fancy clothes. Wore comfortable clothing.
Okay.
So she wasn't, just wasn't like, she wasn't dirty clothing, but just a human you look at and just like, there's no way you're worth the amount of money you're talking about right now.
Right. Was the house gross?
Hoarder.
Oh,
hoarder.
God.
She had like 2, with the Auric air filters. Mm-hmm. She'd had 3 of them running all the time.
Right.
And then I would go buy new filters for her. And I'm like, these are lifetime things. You're supposed to be able to rinse them out. She's like, nah, I don't want to do that. All right. $150 a filter. Here you go.
Wow.
Big fucking fat cats would have to take the cats to the vets to get their buttholes trimmed because they couldn't clean themselves.
I also
haul those, so you can relate, right? It's kind of refreshing, though, isn't it?
It does feel good.
It's good. It's not so itchy. Look at that. They're friends. Sorry.
He's talking about Sissy, the Filter Free America podcast studio snake, the big one.
In Sandwich.
She's sandwich her food that she hasn't eaten. They're friends now. It's a guinea pig. They're just hanging out together.
I'm sure Sissy likes it because there's a warm body in there.
Yeah.
Well, she's getting feelings. Sorry.
When you say hoarder, though, was there anything specific that she was hoarding?
Newspapers all goddamn time.
Was it competing ones, or was it Chicago Tribunes at least?
No, it was all competing.
Okay.
It was all local stuff.
Gotcha.
And she would always read like the Turtle Lake because because if you got a speeding ticket or pulled over by anything, it would be in the newspaper, and she'd read about it. Boss drove her one time, was speeding through downtown, got pulled over. I heard about it like 4 times. Well, don't speed through here because your boss got pulled over. And I was like, yeah, you told me this the last 4 fucking times. Jesus fucking Christ. But she would bitch about everything. Right. Everything was not right. Everything was wrong. Oh, here's $500. Like, all right, okay, bye.
Imagine what you would have made if you would have did everything right.
Well, I was starting to think I'm saving her money for therapy. Jesus Christ. I mean, she's just like, this would probably cost me $2,000 if I talk to a professional. I'll just bitch at this kid who already hates his life. We used to go up to Turtle Lake Casino.
What was her game?
Slots. But she would do the dollars.
Really?
The big ones. And I would play the 5 cents.
Okay.
And I always won. I'd be like, I'll put in like $10 here. But she'd pay for lunch. She'd pay for everything. But she bitched about everything. She smoked. She stunk. She smelled like a cat woman. That's the smell. And if she's still alive, I'd be amazed.
Really?
Right now. But she tipped great. But God, not a happy human.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
So last story, and I'll read the note that you sent me. Son of a venture capitalist for Yahoo.
Yeah.
Introduced him to strip clubs and helped him find crack.
Tried to help. Yeah. So
this could have been the whole episode right here, but
it could have. Well, I'm going to make it nice and short since we talked a bunch about some stuff and we kind of gave away a couple of spoilers. But so this guy, nothing special except for his double ponytail.
Age?
About my age.
Okay.
No, you know what? I'm going to say 10 years older. I'd say he was in his mid 30s, maybe super early 40s.
Right.
Maybe. But dressed like Miami Vice in 97, 98. Balding on top, double ponytail.
Double
ponytail. Wife.
Was the greased back kind of look?
Yeah.
Like you get the oil, VO5 oil in your hair and you...
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah. You see him and you're just like, dude. But he didn't carry himself well. He was always hunched over.
Right.
Kind of like what a lot of the video game kids look like now. But so he was ahead of the game.
Right.
Nice guy. Chatty. Nothing would have made me think anything was special about him. Wife was super cute. The girl next door, super cute.
Right.
Not like a supermodel. She was sweet. They lived in apartments in downtown Minneapolis that I knew were not cheap. So that was my first oh, this guy does have money somewhere. But I would pick them up from the airport because they, every other week, they were coming back from Hawaii. They were coming back from Cancun. They were coming back from all these, nice vacation spots. And I'd know this because I could go inside and wait for them because it was pre 9/11.
Right.
It was a beautiful time when we trusted each other. So one night, I just get a call And my boss says, "Hey, you go pick up this guy. He wants to hang out." And I was like, "He wants to hang out?" Yeah, he's about 3 hours, just drive him around, do whatever he wants to do. I'm like, "Okay, let's do that." Gets in the car, and we chit-chatted. We've had no outstanding conversations, but I'm a likable guy, I guess. I don't know. I just wanted to hang out. And he's like, "Man, what is there to do in this town? I mean, I know I live here and stuff, but there's not a lot to do." And I just thought he's like, "Hey, what strip?" And I just thought he wanted to go to a strip club, but he didn't want to make it his idea because he didn't want his wife to find out. So I just go, "All right, which strip club do you want to go to?" And he's like, "Oh, how many are there?" I was just like, No. I did not plant that seed. Oh, God damn it. So he was, the way he reacted was so honest. I was like, he did not want to go to a strip club until I said strip club. God fucking damn it. So we go to Rick's because I liked Rick's because it was smaller, and I actually went to school with a couple of the ladies that worked there.
They have a great lunch buffet.
It was always late at night, though, when I would go there, so they'd never have lunch buffets. So we go there. He puts down $10,000, and he gets these little coupons. He put it on credit. That's what he did. He didn't put up cash. He used credit. So he got these coupons, non-refundable, so you can use them as cash, and then the ladies can cash them out at the end of the night for cash.
Really?
That's how it worked.
Okay.
And I'm sitting at the bar. I don't give a shit what's happening. He got a table to himself. Now there's 6 ladies hanging out with him. He apparently, he wanted vanilla ice cream and champagne. They didn't have vanilla ice cream, and he's like, "Well, you better fucking go get it."
Right.
Like that's how he told me. He said it to the guy. So they went and got vanilla ice cream, came back, and they were all having a good goddamn time. And then at the end of the night, he's like, "Oh man, I got like 1,200 of these bucks left," and I was just like, "You spent $8,800 goddamn dollars in 3 hours on fucking vanilla ice cream and champagne." He was like, "Oh no, the ladies were being fun and nice," and I was like, "What the fucking fuck is happening in my life? Why? Where's this guy getting this fucking money from?"
It's a different world, bro. You got that much money, man. It's a world that it's hard to manage.
So he goes back in, and they're closing, and he goes back in, and he convinces them to give him cash back or credit back for those bucks. He's like, "I spent this much, whatever."
Right.
So the guy's a talker. He knows what to do, but still dressing like a fat Miami Vice. The guy's not in shape. I'm just telling you, this guy is nothing unassuming. So I go to a strip club. We did the strip club a couple more times because he wanted to go to the other ones. I was his guy, and he always tipped well.
Which other ones did you go to? Do you remember?
No, we did Rick's, and then we did Sheik's once, and then there was another one, Showgirls.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Showgirls was one right there.
He said something about Augies, and I was like, "No." I
was getting ready to ask, man. That's the one I always tell people to go to.
You got to baby step into Augies, buddy. You don't just jump into that thing where you're at now.
Right.
But then there's one time. I pick him up at the airport.
Oh, fun fact for listeners: Augie's is the hood, and I'm saying that with respect because that was the club I used to go to. I used to hang out and sell drugs downtown. But if you go through past episodes of the first 48, there was actually a murder that's centered around that club. So there's a lot of Augie's history involved in that television.
I actually did a commercial for them with Fancy.
You were in that commercial?
I dressed up as Britney Spears. I was Britney Spears in that one.
I must have seen that. I just must have forgot it.
The one where he's like, when he dressed up as a judge.
Uh-huh.
I'm the dude he's talking to.
I must have seen that before. I know I've seen that commercial. I just don't remember. Holy shit! I gotta look that up when we get done.
Out of all the stuff I've done in comedy, that's the only thing my dad called me and go like, "What the hell are you doing?" I'm like, "What are you talking about?" He's like, "I saw you on TV. You doing a commercial for a strip club?" I was like, "You fucking saw that? What the fuck?" I would expect that to be on like super late at night when you're in fucking bed. What the hell? It's like, "You doing strip?" And who's that guy you're talking to? Like, that's Fancy Ray. He's like the best guy on the planet. He's so wonderful.
Right, he is.
And my dad's just that. I was just like, that's what you fucking see me do. You're already bitching at me. I do it. Whatever.
And so listeners know I've got plans to get fans, especially international people who may not know who this another icon of Minnesota.
I fucking love Fancy so much.
He's a wonderful human being. But we're gonna get him in the podcast too.
Yeah, my. Just look up Fancy. He does a lot of ad campaigns. He was in a Super Bowl commercial for Taco Bell.
Yeah, amazing.
It's probably the biggest thing he's done, but he does ads all over.
If you've never seen a self-made famous person,
yes,
this is it.
And
God bless him for it.
Love him to death. So anyway. So Augie. So we did those strip clubs, and then
Was it the same kind of behavior in the strip clubs?
Yeah,
dropping 10 G's here and 10 G's there?
I don't know the money the other times, but the Rick's one, he made it very clear that he dropped a lot of money, but I think he may have went like, okay, maybe I should settle down a little bit.
Right. So when you say venture capitalists in Yahoo,
we'll get to this part.
so
this is where
you know some of the
I'm
okay.
finding a few things out about that.
Gotcha, go for it.
So we did the strip club things a couple of times, hanging out. I'm bored out of my skull. He's having the time of his life. One time, his wife didn't let him back in the house. I dropped him off. He says, "Wait here." And I was like, "Huh?" Goes upstairs, comes back down. He's, "All right, we got to go to a hotel. My wife locked me out." And I was like, "Okay." Like, that's your first sign, buddy.
Right.
Slow down. So then I pick him up from the airport, and this is in the afternoon. And
did you ever see his wife?
Yeah. She was like,
Was she just proportionally beautiful?
yeah, she was just a good-looking woman. I was a solid 8. I'd give her my type, taller, brunette, good-looking woman.
Right.
This guy, hard 6 on a good day. So pick him up from the airport. It's in the afternoon, and he just goes, "Hey, let's get up. Let's turn up here off 36." I was like, 36? Oh, off of 35W on the 36. Okay, that's not how we get to your house. He's like, yeah, okay. All right, go towards Portland. Okay. And he goes, what do those guys look like? I'm like, those kids in the playground? They look like kids in a playground.
Oh, that's getting creepy.
All right, go up a little bit more. I'm like, okay. All right, he's not interested in those kids. All right, good. And then you just see some kids on a bike, and he rolls down his window, and he goes, hey, you guys know where I can find some stuff? And they just go, they're cops! And they just run the opposite direction. And I was like, oh, yeah, that fucking work. And he goes, okay, I'll get out here. You go up the couple of blocks, and I'll just walk to you. And I was like, what the fuck is happening? And I go, what are you doing? He's like, I'm just trying to find some crack. Like, it was no big fucking deal.
Right.
And I was like, you can't do that. If you get in trouble, I'm going to get in trouble. Like the same thing I told the guys with the hooker.
Right.
Like, we can't do this. You can't do this with me. You have to do this with somebody else. Like, fine. Don't tell my wife. I was like, I don't know. If I kind of did the whole like, well, I mean, if somebody asks, I can't.
Right.
Hey, here's $200. I didn't see anything.
Right.
So that was probably the hush money right there. But but then I took him on, and then he starts talking about how he smokes crack in Hawaii, and then he starts talking about how he smokes crack in the Keys. I'm like, all right, well, apparently steel wool.
Like, it's trying to rich up the idea of smoking
like,
crack. Like, it's one thing to smoke crack, but I smoke crack in the Keys and in Hawaii.
A tube and some steel wool, that's how you do it? I don't know. What the fuck ever, dude.
That's one of the ways.
I've never, well, apparently it's the high rollers love that.
Apparently.
You drop 8,800 at a strip club, you got the steel wool taste.
Well, clearly he had been in that area before because he was telling you, giving you directions. And
just how he just directed me, I was like, oh, fuck, he's been, like, I was just like, shit.
Holy
But as soon as he said that, I was just like, we cannot.
And in this rain, 97 to 99, in that part of town, it was a little bit more rough.
It was rough. It wasn't
over that.
Quite, They didn't quite fix
it's still,
it quite a
still
bit.
kind of rough, but it's still not
But then
near.
he starts talking about, and I'm like, what do you do? He's like, I don't do anything. I'm like, what do you mean you don't do anything? He's like, my dad was one of the first investors in Yahoo. And this is right around where Yahoo was buying up a bunch of shit for billions of dollars.
Right.
And I'm like, what? He's like, yeah, I get a monthly allowance of $100,000. I was like, a monthly allowance of $100,000. That my brain's not even processing the words
Can't
coming
even
out of
fathom
his
it.
fucking mouth. I'm like, what in the fuck are you talking? Like, and you're doing drugs? And he's like, well, I travel all over the place and I'm just getting bored sometimes and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, all right, that explains the gorgeous wife. And that explains, like, this, okay. But that was like the last thing I did with the guy, because I told my boss, I was like, there's something wrong with this guy. We gotta. And apparently the wife had talked to my boss about some stuff too, kind of cut him off a little bit. And then about 3 years after I got out of it, my boss just called me up and was like, yeah, he OD'd. He was in Hawaii. He OD'd on some stuff. He passed away. And I was like, oh man, he just never, my money wasn't gonna make you happy.
Right.
And it was just like, well, fuck. If that's not a great story, you didn't have to work ever, and you still aren't happy. I mean,
Holy shit.
I know. I was just like, oh, fuck. I mean, how much I want to make fun of it. It's just like, yeah, I mean. And then.
So is his wife still single, and does she still get that $100,000
I wouldn't. Well, it's not worth that at all now. I'm sure the
that's
guy.
true, yeah.
Well, I mean, if the guy's a smart investor, I'm sure he was like, oh, and I'm just going to cash out this motherfucker. And
Well, clearly the crackhead was a smart investor. We're sure he was investing in smokable stock. Holy fuck. Well, thank you for the story, man.
Yeah, man, you're more than welcome. Thanks for having me.